I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well.
Will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visits New York?
Well, we didn't discuss your second part of the question. And on your first part, I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot.
What's going on, everybody? Today, we're going to talk about a few topics, including Mamdani and Trump bro out at the White House and Marjorie Taylor Greene resigns. I don't know if you guys saw the press conference or any pieces of Trump and Mamdani at the White House, but it reminded me of Step Brothers, the movie where they're like, did we just become best friends? Yeah, you know, it was that sort of vibe. So we're going to get into that. And then Marjorie's resigning. I'll tell you what I think about it. We'll listen to a few clips. That's going to be the show for today. Dream Rare Podcast starts now. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if everything sounds good. Give me a thumbs up on the video for the algorithm. I appreciate it. Dream Rare Podcast starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, Facebook? Oh my gosh, my voice. Oh my gosh, start over. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. No, I'm just kidding. I don't care. But that really, you know, I turned up a little bit this weekend. Probably shouldn't have, but got a little crack in my voice. But Dreamer Podcast starts now. Thank you guys for being here. At first, there were 2 viewers. I was like, maybe I should retire, but now there's some people in here. Appreciate it. Just took a while for the numbers to get through. So I'm going to look at the comments real quick because this is going to be a choose your own adventure like R.L. Stine Goosebumps. Would you rather hear about Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning and listen to a clip of Marjorie or Trump and Mamdani broing out? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to sip my coffee for like 10 seconds and do a little sales pitch real quick. We got the dreamrare.com hats. You spell it right there, dreamrare.com. Check out a hat, get one for Christmas, made in America. You've already heard the spiel, but yeah, let's see. We'll let you guys decide. Unless one of you is a mega donor. I mean, if somebody, this is going to be like politics. Like your opinion sort of matters, but like Miriam Adelson's opinion matters more, and people like George Soros. But, you know, I'm going to listen to the comments unless someone does a super chat, then I'm going to listen to them because we're going to do this realistic. It's like, oh, everybody wants one of them except, you know, the person who paid me. Then let's see, Marjorie. All right, Marjorie won. Let's play a clip of Marjorie. I got a 30-second clip where she takes a little shot at, you know, someone's coming to save you. There's a 5-dimensional chess plan. And I'll tell you what I think about it. I mean, I'm not going to play her full 10-minute resignation, but yeah, it's a bummer. I'm super bummed. She's one of the only people I like in Congress. I think I only like 2 people. So now I only like one person, which sucks. Obviously, Thomas Massey, but here's the clip.
There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it.
So she resigned, I guess. I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday. I just remember I wasn't working. So I saw it on my Twitter feed. I was like, oh, that sucks. And at first, you know, I was hoping maybe she was trying for the Senate or something, or maybe presidency. I mean, I don't know if that's the right position for her, but I was hoping she didn't drop out of politics completely because she's one of the only good people there. But I guess she has dispelled rumors that she's running for office. And she says, no, I'm like literally done. I'm not running for president. Those are fake rumors. And it's a bummer. I mean, I guess I don't know exactly what happened. You know, I could speculate like everybody else. Obviously, it's like, oh, maybe she got threatened, or maybe this, or maybe that, or maybe she's secretly running. I don't know. You know, you'd have to ask her. Hopefully, I'll get to interview her one day and ask her for myself. But here's what I will say. And I know, like, I'll use Matt Walsh as an example. Sorry, Matt Walsh. I don't know why you're getting brought into this, but it's just kind of how my mind works. Matt Walsh works at Daily Wire, and a lot of people are saying like Daily Wire, you know, prioritizes Israel before America and all this sort of stuff. And Matt Walsh seems to not really like to talk about that topic. He seems to like to sort of talk about it, but not really dive into it, which I understand. But I do feel like, and I know Matt seems like a chill guy or not a chill guy, depending how you view it. But when it comes to Matt, like I almost think he has to play dumb on that topic because it's like Neo in the Matrix, where if you realize what's really going on, then he realizes his side's not really on his side. I think he learned that a month ago. We did a whole stream on it where he was like, let's unite on the right. And everyone's like, F off. And all the people on his side, on the Zionist side of the equation, didn't want to unite with other people. And Matt kind of like is like, oh, I don't get it. I feel like Matt's way smarter than that. So the reason I brought that up and started talking about Matt is I feel like Marjorie woke up to the reality of politics. I don't know how long she knew it. I don't know how long she tried to play the game. But the more authentic that Marjorie tried to get, the more real, the more raw, the more uncontrollable she tried to get, even though she was always pretty wild from the start. Like the more you realize that you're surrounded by 97% vipers, you know, you have to live in Washington, D.C., where like 90 something percent of the population is liberals. So that's already really creepy. Listen, I have traveled a lot. I'm not saying DC was my least favorite place, but it's got a weird political vibe. And it is kind of weird knowing over 90% of people don't agree with you. I lived in LA for a while, and even those elections are like 60, 40, 67. You know, it's not 95% or 94%, whatever DC is. Like, it's the most liberal place in America, first of all. Then when you have Republicans on your side, that 5% or the 7%, whatever it is, they're not on your side either. I think Thomas Massey is the only legitimate person in Congress. Matt Gaetz left. Now he's being very honest. It's scary. Like, it's scary to know that Trump isn't really on your side. The second she starts challenging him even a little bit, I don't think she really did that much. He calls her a traitor. He starts posting, and she starts saying, oh, I'm getting threats. And then Trump keeps posting. And here's what I'd say, and this doesn't just apply to Trump, it really applies to everyone. I like to be critical of people. I don't think words equal violence, and I don't think you need to stop talking about someone if you mean what you're saying. But Trump really does have no class. We're like calling her a traitor. There's a lot of people in Congress who have done way worse stuff, who started wars, who are sold out. Like, literally all of Congress is disgusting. And then Trump just keeps calling her a traitor. I feel like, you know, it is very intentional. Like, she said, you know, like, chill out a little bit. And he was like, no, I'm going harder. That's how a lot of people act. And I think maybe it just got to her, you know, not just like threats or anything necessarily. I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask her, but I'm sure that got to her too. But just this realization that it's like you're in a town with 5% of the population agrees with you politically. And then out of that 5%, pretty much nobody's on your side. And if you ever actually want to do your job for the American people and not serve the mega corporations, Israel and Ukraine, then even the head of your own party starts calling you a traitor, which are very serious words. You know, I think Trump's a bigger traitor than Marjorie by far, but he has a lot of power and he's using it against you while he's golfing with Lindsey Graham. I mean, you almost have to be a total psychopath to want to do politics. Some of the best people, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, I'm just being honest, like some of the most bold people in politics or in media, they're total sociopaths and narcissists, because you almost have to be a sociopath and a narcissist in order to really, really succeed. And like for myself, I like myself. I'm not like, you know, self-deprecating. Like I hate myself. I mean, I'll self-deprecate to make a joke, but you know, I don't hate myself by any means, but I'm not like a big enough sociopath and narcissist to want to climb the ladder in this world, because the higher you get, the crazier it gets. Like every time I talk to people in a business sense, they're like, oh, don't do this, do that. They think I want to scale and get bigger. And I keep telling them, I'm like, I don't want to get any bigger. Like, I mean, yeah, I want to be successful. I don't want to go broke or anything, but my goal is not to be on the level of Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens or Nick Fuentes, or that's not my goal. If that happens as a result of what I'm doing, I'll have to deal with it. But it's like, it's actually freaky. Like it's freaky to be in Congress. It's freaky to have Trump call you a traitor. It's crazy to a normal person. Like normal people don't want to be a politician. Normal people don't want to deal with this stuff. Crazy people are like, fuck it. Excuse my language. Sorry about that. But they're like, I'll do it. You know, I want the attention. I want all the smoke. So I thought Marjorie was that type of person. She seems very brave, very bold. She doesn't give a crap. And that's just my best opinion. It's like, I think that when you wake up to the realization that your team is not on your team, it's scary, especially if you're surrounded by that. I figured that out pretty early, so I never was surrounded by that necessarily. Of course, I have some friends that work at companies, etc. But you know, I treat people the way I want to be treated. It's like I'm not going to judge you if you do something for a company that I disagree with. Like I'm a very old-fashioned person. If you're cool to me, I'll be cool to you. If you're loyal to me, I'll be loyal to you. But with Marjorie, I think for years she was like trumped out. And then as soon as she stopped trumping out, it's like, oh shoot, this isn't what I thought it was. Wow, this sucks, you know, and she's right in the middle of it. I think the same thing with Matt Walsh. I think he lies to himself in order to feel comfortable with where he's at. Because if he ever told the truth, like he's always like, why does everybody talk about Israel? Why do some people care so much? Bro, I know you know, Matt Walsh. I read your article before you worked at Daily Wire, and you went harder on that topic and how the Israel lobby was smearing politicians years ago. Like, you know, like, and I feel like Matt, it's almost like subconscious. I don't think he's a liar, but I just think you almost like have to shut that part of your brain off in order to feel comfortable and like safe and, you know, like, oh, this is my team. And same thing with Marjorie. That's why I use that example. Cause it's like, once you realize that everybody else is kind of right and your side's not on your side, it's like, dang, this sucks. It's way more fun to believe that Trump is a hero. It's way more fun to believe that he's not sold out to mega corporations and donors. I just saw an article because Trump's first term, he raised like $100 million for the inauguration. And after you win presidency, all the big companies pay for your inauguration and basically, you know, buy you out. And Trump took more than any other politician the first time. The second time, he took over $200 million from mega corporations. So if you see him doing deals with Pfizer and you see that Trump is a total corporate shill, he wants the government to own stakes in certain companies like a communist. He's literally like a socialist. He wants the government to own pieces of companies. That's like the most socialist idea. Even Bernie Sanders went on Jon Stewart recently, and Jon Stewart was like, does it bother you that Donald Trump did more of your socialist policies than Democrats? And Bernie admitted that it was true, and Trump did. He's literally not even a capitalist or a conservative. But in general, you get what I'm saying? It's like when you're maggot out and you're Trumped out and you really believe in that, it's fun. It's like, yeah, we're beating up the deep state. We're beating up the left. As soon as you come to the reality of like, nah, it's actually all fake and gay, and Trump is a huge sellout and probably working for other people as well and mega donors, you know, Trump turns on you. I mean, he didn't have to call her a traitor. He didn't have to freak out at her. Maybe she did something too to him. I have no idea, but I'll talk about it a little later because I feel like both of these stories kind of weave in with each other. So that's my opinion about Marjorie so far, at least the short version. You know, I like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I thought she was one of the realest people in Congress. She kept getting realer and realer. It's a huge loss to lose her in Congress. Now we only have Thomas Massie. And if we lose him, pretty much all of Congress is completely controllable and not that authentic. So I hope that Marjorie and Massie inspire more people to run versus make them not want to run, because there's a huge difference between like a Marjorie Taylor Greene and a Tom Cotton or a Thomas Massie and a Ted Cruz. We need more Ron Pauls, more Marjorie Taylor Greenes, more Thomas Massies, and less Lindsey Grahams and those type of characters. But Trump, he doesn't seem to care. Not only does he not seem to care about Republicans who suck, but he's glazing Mamdani. He treats Mamdani better than he does Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rand Paul, who campaigned for Trump multiple times, by the way, and Thomas Massie. It's like Rand Paul campaigned for you and you can't even treat him good. But Mamdani is like a literal communist and Trump is just glazing him. Here's a little clip from Mamdani and Trump. It's like watching the Step Brothers. Did we just, of course, it always does that thumbs up thing. Dude, if anybody, sorry about that. If anybody knows how to like turn off the thumbs up on my computer, every time I put a thumbs up, it freezes my whole stream. It's so retarded. But yeah, it's like, dude, did we just become best friends? Donald Trump and Mamdani? This is like Step Brothers 3, Return of the Communists. But here's the clips I made. Like, well, I didn't make it actually. I got it off Twitter, but here's a 2-minute compilation from C-SPAN.
You said you'd be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views, and what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes. Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind. You know, we had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. It's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. What we did is we discussed crime more than ICE per se. We discussed crime, and he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime, and I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that.
Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would, especially after the meeting.
You accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. That people were tired of seeing our tax dollars fund endless wars. And I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights, and I know that still today those are being violated, and that continues to be work that has to be done no matter where we're speaking of.
Do you view the mayor-elect as the true leader of the Democrat Party?
Well, look, I hope they have great leaders. This is a man that right now I think is focused in New York City. I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats? I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City.
I always said, one of the things I would love to be someday is the mayor of New York City.
All right, so I thought I was watching Step Brothers 2 there. They're smitten. I almost said smutting. I don't even know if that's a word, but smitten over each other. Really, it was like Trump glazing Mamdani and Mamdani being like a professional, just like, saying like basic stuff. So Trump was like super glazing over him. And I'll say this, if you have grace with the other side and you have grace with everything you do, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being respectful to Mamdani. But if you're respectful to Mamdani, but you're, oh my gosh, this stupid thumbs up thing is so retarded. But if you're graceful with Mamdani, but like I said earlier, you trash the people in our party that are actually awesome, then it's not really grace. It's just like being a cornball. Like Trump sucks up to Lindsey Graham, but he tries to run Rand Paul out of Congress. It's not like Trump's so graceful and nice to everybody. He tweets in all capitals the most insane batshit stuff on True Social, trying to rile everybody up, and then he doesn't do anything about it. Like, as the president of the United States, think about this. If you actually were going to try somebody for treason or sedition or any of these things that Trump's constantly screaming about, why would you just post about it? Like, why wouldn't you talk to your attorney general and actually do something about it instead of talking about it? If you actually wanted to do it, you would do it. I think, and a lot of people are starting to think that, and I wouldn't say this is like an original thought of mine. And once again, for those who are new or perhaps can't handle this, I understand that Trump is probably a better option than Kamala. He'll close the border. He's, better in office. At least he'll do some of the basic stuff better than her. I totally understand that. But when it comes to Trump, it seems like he just likes to rile people up and not do anything. I don't think that's like a mistake. You're the most powerful person in the world. You control basically your entire party. You control your administration, the attorney general. You can hire and fire them. If you wanted to try somebody for treason, you could do it, or at least figure out a graceful way of going about it and then just like actually doing it. He doesn't do that. So why would you tweet about it or True Social about it in all caps? I feel like he's an agent of chaos, and he's really just trying to freak people out, rile them up, and set people up. January 6th, maybe Trump made a mistake. Maybe it was a miscalculation. Probably, definitely the feds were in on it to some extent, or at least they were very present that day. I'll just say that. They definitely overreacted and, went way too far with it. But this idea that everyone has is like, sorry about that. This idea that everyone has is that Trump is like this innocent victim who just gets tricked by his, advisors, and he doesn't know anything. The more he does, and the more you really actually do journalism about who Trump is, like his meetings with Bill Gates before the pandemic, it seems a lot less like Trump is just this stupid goofball who got tricked. And it's starting to seem more like Trump is completely in on this stuff. So with January 6th, I think a lot of people need to start asking themselves, did Trump make a mistake? Or is he part of the show to set up his own base? And when he's yelling treason, sedition, calling Marjorie Taylor Greene a traitor and stuff, like, is he actually trying to do anything? Like, don't you think that 99% of Congress are bigger traitors than Marjorie Taylor Greene? Where are all the tweets about those? Where are all the True Socials about those? And there doesn't need to be a True Social. I don't like people who just talk about stuff in all caps. You're the president, dude. You're not a podcaster. You're not Dan Bongino before he got his position. You're Donald Trump. You have the power to actually do these things, but you never do. You just freak out your base over this stuff. And that's why I said during the 2020 election, I'm not saying that no one would rig an election, because obviously anything is possible. But I never really fully believed the narrative, like, oh, the rigged election, let's go to January 6th, let's watch Dinesh D'Souza's film, blah, 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 blah. It all seemed like a setup to me, because as it's happening, Republicans are in on the corruption. As it's happening, Donald Trump's not doing anything. And then it creates this narrative where Trump takes no accountability for anything that he did during COVID. And now he's this innocent victim of this giant plot. Like, it all seems very staged to me to some extent, or at least like he's part of a show. And when it comes to Mamdani and Trump and the way they get along, what a lot of people are wondering is Trump just like one side of the coin where he's going to implode the party and then hand the country off to Mamdani's? Does he agree with a lot of Mamdani's ideas? Because Trump is a literal communist. I actually think Mamdani is a pretty smart guy, and I think some of his ideas are good and some of his ideas are terrible. But I do think that he's pragmatic and might be able to solve a few problems in NYC, and he might make some worse. But with Trump, it's not like I think he sees the good in Mamdani and doesn't like the bad. I know Trump. He does COVID checks. He wants the government to own stakes in Intel and corporations. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think he's like a principled conservative, really. So I do think there's a possibility that Trump is really just there to implode the movement that we have and put him into office. And I want to give a solution, because I don't want to just sound like a downer. And then I'm going to read some comments. I don't really have that much to talk about today. But when it comes to what we can do about it, I always have said this, and it's like I sound like a broken record because I've said it for 5 years, but Republican influencers and reporters need to do their job. And for some reason, they critically think about a lot of things, or they don't. But when it comes to Trump, they don't want to do the reporting. They don't want to look at the hundreds of millions of dollars he took from corporations. They don't want to talk about the mega donors who gave Trump $500 million, and then a spy flew home on their jet. And then Trump's on stage saying that he thinks that they want things for a foreign country, and that's what they ask him for. Like, nobody wants to do that reporting. Nobody wants to talk about the IHRA speech laws that they're passing into legislation. So for me, it's like, yes, it's the politicians' fault to a huge extent. They're selling out. But on our side, the reason that everything feels like Groundhog Day, and the reason that it's like a broken loop where, Trump gets in, we end up in a lockdown, Trump gets in, nothing happens, the Mamdanis take over the country. Oh my gosh, can't believe it. Election fraud, come to the Capitol, set you guys up with the FBI. Like, the reason that it keeps happening on loop is not just because Trump kind of sucks, but it's just like no one on our side, barely anyone on our side, will do the reporting on Trump. So it's going to be Groundhog Day until the voters realize this. And also, I shouldn't do a thumbs up because then I'll freeze. The voters realize this, and the influencers and Republican journalists do their job. And if people like to follow influencers who make millions just like sucking off Trump basically and not doing anything of value, just like being a fan, and that's what people are into, they want to follow those type of people instead of people that are actually giving them the truth and doing the reporting about the meetings that Trump's taking with Bill Gates and the Pfizer meetings, et cetera. Then it's just going to be Groundhog Day. And this is kind of my take as well, just to add on to all of this. I think Trump securing the border is better than what Biden would have did. And I see everything as like a piece of the puzzle. And that's a huge piece of the puzzle, because if the border stayed open for 4 more years under Mayorkas, now there's like 50 more years of problems. So I understand that Trump sucks. I always knew he was going to suck, but I obviously am hoping for the best, and I try to be as optimistic as I can. But I'm realistic. Like, I never expected that much out of Trump. And whether he wins or loses, it doesn't matter. Because if he would have lost, the border would have been open for 4 years. Democrats would have been doing the same thing. And then Trump, or someone like Trump, would have ran in 2028 on this premise of, I'm going to fix it. People would have believed him. They would have gotten office, and then everything would have been the same. So the election matters to the extent of I wanted him to close the border. But as far as, and I hope he can end the war in Russia. It seems like he has an idea sort of now, and we'll see if it goes through. In Israel, I don't think really anything actually happened. I think it was kind of like a staged peace thing, even though Israel's still blowing up Gaza. But anyway, it doesn't matter when things happen. It just matters that people wake up, and the sooner the better. So Trump winning and doing this stuff and waking up a lot of people, it's actually better than waiting 5-6 years. And then it's like Trump or JD Vance in 2029, and then everybody figures it out. So, I think voters need to figure this out, and people that don't vote need to figure this out. And most importantly, I can speak for myself, is journalists and influencers, they need to do their job. They need to actually do something, and they need to look at Trump the same way they look at all Democrats and Republicans, and not be like a cat turd professional fan of these people. That's my thoughts. And I would say this too. I'm just going to add this. I might read a few comments, and I'm going to probably take it a little easy today, cut this off early and keep it short. And I'll be back with longer videos. And also, I'm starting to do my more investigative reports and like things that I used to do. It was like, it takes a lot of time and effort, but I know that's what I'm best at. So I'm getting back to that. It seems like people enjoy those and they like those better. But I saw a video of some undercover thing, and like somebody who worked for Campbell's said it's like bioengineered and they don't even like it and it's poor people food. I have to look at the full video, but that's like there's some sort of lawsuit going on where they caught some Campbell's guy undercover saying he doesn't even like the food. I have to look, like I said, I want to just allegedly make sure I like fully look into that. But I'm not going to talk about it in the sense of blaming them. I just want to give people like an example of how I think, we can all do better and we can all change the world. Just like this guy, if it ends up being true, he got caught basically saying like, I sell things that I don't really believe in. Most of the country does that. Most influencers do that. Most athletes are selling gambling apps, but they wouldn't gamble. Most influencers are selling garbage that they would never use or trust. Everybody just wants to make money. And then people that aren't athletes or influencers, just a lot of other people, like everyone just wants to get money. I understand. Like you got to work a job. I get it. I've worked 15 jobs in my life. I've worked at grocery stores. I've worked everywhere. But in general, it's like, if we want to change the world, we have to change ourselves, and we all have to sell things that we believe in. Part of the problem in America is everybody's doing everything for money that they don't actually want. And then everybody expects change. For myself, I'm not a perfect person. I've definitely made mistakes in my life, and I'm sure I'll make many more. But I try to keep that, like, I want to see more people selling USA hats. I don't necessarily need to buy everything made in the United States when it comes to clothes. But for myself, since I talk about this stuff, since I talk about America, it's where I live, I spend more money to make better hats, better quality stuff, lower profit margins, but better quality. And like I said, made in the US. When it comes to sponsorships, for my level of what I'm doing, I mean, I reached like 1 billion people this year on Facebook. I don't think I've even done a single Facebook ad all year. I'm leaving probably hundreds of thousands, if not more, dollars on the table. And maybe I'm done for that, but at the same time, it's like the right deals haven't come to me. And when certain products come to me that I don't necessarily like that much, then I turn it down. I don't care how much money it is. It's just, I would never sell gambling apps to other people because I think it's a bad habit. And I think, a lot of people are getting addicted to it. So why would I sell that to somebody? Why does nobody else do that? Why don't influencers do that? Why do politicians take money? And then why does everybody do that? That's my overall thing, where it's like the Campbell's guy getting caught being like, oh, I wouldn't eat that food. That's for poor people. Okay. I get what you're saying. You have a cheap product that you're probably rich enough where you don't have to buy it. But at the same time, it's like, why don't we make healthy things for poor people? Why don't we make healthy things for rich people? That's the problem with this country. And that's the problem with this phony system, is everyone's like, oh, we're just doing it for money. We're just doing it for money. So is Trump. So is Nancy Pelosi. So are all them. So how are you better than them? You know what I'm saying? You want Trump to do things for not money, but you can't do it. Like, I don't know. I just feel like more people need to lead by example, and more people need to step up and make sure that they're putting out something that they want. For me, I didn't like that the news was fake. So I tried to make honest news. I don't like how people treat each other. And still, doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican side. The reason, I'm not even going to say the reason, I'm just going to go into it. Most people that I watch, they don't treat others the way they want to be treated. And it's like, even if I agree with a lot of what they're saying, I'm just like watching how they operate. It's like, if they make a mistake, they take no accountability. They're constantly just throwing arrows at people. They're like, everybody's so nasty. So like, if you're going to be nice to Mamdani, I think that's awesome. But then also be nice to Marjorie Taylor Greene, or at least have grace when you criticize her, or have a point. Because at the end of the day, Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't take AIPAC money. You took $500 million with the GOP from the Adelson family. You said that they asked for things for Israel. You said that you think she likes Israel more. So you're basically essentially an unregistered foreign agent. If you're taking $500 million, they're asking for things for a foreign country. You think they like a foreign country more than America. You send a foreign spy home on their jet. What are you? What is Mike Huckabee doing over there? Who's he meeting with? What did that guy do to the United States? Did he steal our secrets? Is he telling people to spy on America currently? Yes. So, it's like I'm fine with people being tough on people who deserve it, but it's called evil when you're tough on people that are good and nice to people that are bad. That's called evil. That's called inverse reality. That's called you're a demon. You know what I'm saying? And I do think Trump, although he's better than Kamala, who's also a demon, Trump is an evil guy. He's a super evil guy. And everybody ignored it in 2020, 2021, 2022 because they were screaming about election fraud and getting set up at the Capitol and watching Dinesh D'Souza's documentary. And I was just sitting there like, I get all those things, but also listen to this guy. He says his vaccine saved 100 million lives. He said he pushed the FDA to get it out faster. He's not an innocent victim of the pharmaceutical lockdown bamboozle. He's like an orchestrator of it. You could even make an argument that either it would have happened with the Democrat because they suck, or Trump is like a new kind of evil where he's like even sneakier, doing even more messed up stuff than them. But anyway, you spin it, he's not an innocent victim and he's not a good person. So, I'm not saying, like I said, I try to treat others the way I want to be treated. We all make mistakes. We all have flaws. We all sin. I'm not trying to sit here and be somebody's pastor. But at the same time, if you listen to even like Matt Walsh, I disagree with him on that talking point. But I always try to be like, I like him. He says a lot of good things. I try to just not throw arrows all over the place. So I talk about, the Charlie Kirk situation. I try to talk about what I know, be as respectful and thoughtful as I can, but also be as honest as I can, and same with politics. It's like, if I don't know something, I like to say, I don't know. If I'm not that sure, I like to say that. I feel good when I'm truthful. I don't think you should say you're a truther, you're a truther, and then 90% tell the truth, 10% lie, and take no accountability for it. I don't think Trump should be shitting on Marjorie Taylor Greene, Massey, and Paul and golfing with Lindsey Graham. That's not honest. That's not compassion. It's upside down world. He's nice to people who hate him, and he's mean to people who do the right thing. And at the end of the day, everybody's like, oh, Trump's always nice to all these people who hate him. It's probably all a show. I don't think Trump cares about all these people because he knows it's not real. He knows that it's just a campaign. He knows that he's friends with them and he does the same thing to them. It's like this unwritten rule in Washington. You throw arrows at me, I'll throw arrows at you. We'll both fundraise and we'll swap office. I'll say you did the inflation. You say I did the inflation. We'll both do the inflation together. And then we'll just go back and forth. And Trump will set us up with a Mamdani in the White House in 2028 or somebody like him at the current rate. And he doesn't seem to care. Is it ego? Is it old age? Is he just totally self-centered? I have no idea, but it is what it is. It's not the right direction. So, that's my thoughts overall. I'll read a few comments, but I think the way to, and not to be overly preachy, but we have to live the life that we want to see. We have to be I'm trying to be the news person that I wanted to see. And I make sure that I do have compassion for even people I don't like. And I speak clearly. I don't like to let my emotions get the best of me to where I'm lying about someone I dislike in order to just make them look bad. And I'm not trying to do anything below the belt where I'm just trying to talk about things that they're doing. For example, with Donald Trump, he took a personal shot at Thomas Massey for getting married after his wife died. I understand the skepticism because maybe you could have waited longer, but at the same time, Trump is divorced 2 or 3 times. So it's Thomas Massey stayed with his wife until she passed away and then probably didn't want to be lonely for the rest of his life because it's not healthy. You divorced, functional living women. It's I would never say that. I would never bring that up to Donald Trump because it doesn't have anything to do with this, but it's he has no grace. He has no respect. He doesn't treat other people the way he wants to be treated. He's just a big bully, but he's not a big bully for us like people thought. He's a big bully for Pfizer. He's a big bully for Bill Gates. He's apparently a big bully on the side of stepbrother Mamdani. He's a big bully for his donors, and he bullies the best people in our party and then golfs with Lindsey Graham. Someone said, could it be blackmail? There's a lot of things involved in it. And I think, I'm not going to fully get into it right now, but with all the Epstein things, they tried to say that it was anti-Semitic to talk about his connections to Israel for months. And then Netanyahu came out and said that he did get involved in Israeli politics for the other guy against Netanyahu. And now that other prime minister is how dare you say that conspiracy theory, Netanyahu? So it's Israeli politicians are being more honest about this than American politicians. Israeli media is more honest about the Israel-Gaza war than American media. Like you'll get more truth about what's going on there in Haaretz than you will in Newsmax, New York Post, like Fox News, CNN. Like they don't say anything about this stuff for the most part. And you read Israeli media and they'll talk about the Hannibal Initiative or their Hannibal Directive. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that. Like that, there's only so much that the American press will talk about, but who knows how much everything has to play with it. There's a lot of money being passed around. There's a lot of, as Charlie Kirk called it, moral blackmail, where they basically just say, like, if you don't agree with us, we'll just call you an anti-Semite, or we'll call you this, or we'll call you that. Like if you don't, the left morally blackmails their people. Like if you don't agree with every one of their policies, they call you a fascist or a sexist or a racist. And those words are used as moral blackmail. And then on the right, they use the words anti-Semitic as moral blackmail, where it's like, you don't want to sell out. You don't want to take a trip. You don't want to work for a foreign country. You want to talk about the speech laws. You don't want to take money from AIPAC. You don't want to do this. Then, well, you're an anti-Semite. Well, you're Hamas now. It's a lot of games being played. But in general, I just think and I pushed for this for a long time, my industry needs to do their job. Republican analysts, podcasters, influencers, if you're going to talk about politics, you have to just be honest about it. That's all it is. It's like, if you're going to tell the truth about the Democrats and the Republicans and the rhinos, but when Trump takes hundreds of millions of dollars from his inauguration, takes $500 million from the Adelson family with the GOP, when they do all these things and you don't talk about it, then you're part of the problem. Because this is what I've seen for years now. It's like, it's Groundhog Day, because everybody in Republican politics and media acts stupid. And then 3 years later, they're all like, where did that come from? I can't believe Amy Coney Barrett isn't who I said she was. Who did I say she was, though? And, God bless Amy Coney Barrett. I'm sure she's a lovely lady. But if you look at her record, she was pro-lockdown before she got in office. I told people before, when everybody was cheering her on, saying, oh, look at her, she's holding up a little notepad, I said, she's the wrong choice. She's pro-lockdown. Why would Trump pick a pro-lockdown Supreme Court justice during a lockdown? That's not good for us. That's not conservative at all. And then all the influencers that pushed Amy Coney Barrett like she's a hero, 3 years later, like, I can't believe she's a phony. It's like Groundhog Day when you watch their channels. And it's like, I'm not the be all end all, but at least with my audience, like most people, if you've watched me for 6 years and followed along, it's not like I'm preaching to you, just telling you to believe me. I'm showing you the facts and making a clear case for it. So, not just to believe what I'm saying, but you believe the evidence. The reason I'm telling you is because I've accumulated all these things and data points in order to make that decision. So I don't just blindly tell you to believe me. I show you. So, so it's like people that have watched me for years now, they're like, yeah, I'm 6 years ahead on this topic. I'm 4 years ahead on this topic. I'm 2 years ahead on this topic. And it's not because I'm some super genius with a spreadsheet. It's because I do my job. An Amazon driver's job is to deliver groceries and packages. When I was an overnight stocker at a supermarket, my job was to stock the shelves. When I was a dishwasher, my job was to wash the dishes. When I was a cashier, my job was to work the register. My job right now, I call myself a news analyst and a hip hop artist, but a news analyst. What does that mean? I'm analyzing the news. That means analyzing Trump and being honest about it, not being personal, not being like aggressive about some weird, like all public information, all public donors, all, like just the reality of the situation. Why is nobody else in my field or barely anyone doing their job? Why are they lying to everybody? Why is everybody 5-6 years late on Donald Trump? Because that's all they know. They listen and trust people that aren't being honest with them. And these people are getting paid to do nothing, to suck up to a politician and pretend like they're different. I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm sorry I'm passionate right now. Sorry, I'm not sorry, but you understand what I'm saying? It's like none of this surprises me besides today where I'm like very passionate. Like people tell me things like, "Oh, look at this video." Like, dude, I've known this for 7 years now. None of this is shocking. What I want to know is, when are people going to stop just selling things that they don't believe in? When are people going to stand on business and do what they actually want to see? And then also, when are people going to challenge Trump? Because Trump leads the best party in America, and he's leading them in a runaway train towards something that doesn't make any sense. When are people going to challenge him? When are people don't want to challenge him because they don't want to be called a traitor. If you're a podcaster and you challenge Trump and you're not a big deal, like I think I'm somewhat, like, I'm not nothing, but at the same time, let's be honest, I'm not a big enough deal where Trump gives a shit about me, which I'm grateful for because I don't want to be on his radar like that. But like, if you're Joe Rogan and you go against Trump, he's going to send people at you. If you're Marjorie Taylor Greene and go at Trump, or you're like a bigwig who knows Trump and you challenge him, Trump is a very petty, spiteful, nasty guy, So it's like nobody around him wants to say anything because Trump will literally try to crush you. Not for the right reasons, but just because you told him the truth when he was trying to lie to everybody. Thomas Massie got Trump mad at him when Thomas Massie was right about the lockdowns and the CARES Act, and he wanted Congress to vote in person. And Trump basically told him to go fuck himself. You know what I'm saying? Thomas Massie wasn't wrong. He was right about everything that he said during the lockdown. But Trump, it's not about being right. It's about shutting up and listening to Trump and the GOP. Shut up and be a communist. Shut up and sell your country out. Shut up and go along with 15 days to slow the spread. Shut up and say Operation Warp Speed is the greatest thing in human history. Trump's a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's what everybody wants to do. They want to be a professional Trump dick rider and then tell everybody they're a good person. But at the end of the day, like, you're really not. You're really part of the problem. The reason I talk about Republicans more than Democrats is because Democrats are not my party. They're idiots. They do everything completely wrong. They're dishonest. So that's not my side. The Republicans are supposed to be our side, and they're supposed to make more sense, and they're pretending to make more sense. So I go harder at Republicans because I'm not voting for a Democrat. They do nothing for me. They leave the border open. So we have one side that might do something for us, and they're not. So I consider Republican influencers and journalists who don't do their job to be just as bad as a liberal or worse, because they're justifying our betrayal. They're justifying the fact that, oh, I don't know. Like, there's pages that I follow that do great work about Democrats, but it's like, why don't you do a post about Trump saying that he thinks a foreign nation should own Congress? Why don't you do a post about the speech laws that Republicans and Democrats are passing into law for Israel? Where are all those posts? You're just going to put, oh, look at the communists, look at the leftists, look at the 20-year-old on a college campus with blue hair. Who cares? She has no systemic power. Donald Trump's the head of the White House, and he's friendlier to a communist than to Marjorie Taylor Greene. All of the GOP's like, oh, he's a jihadist. And Trump's like, no, he's not. He's my buddy now. It's like your whole life is a lie. It's all like one big show. And for those who don't know, Dearborn voted for Trump as well. I don't want to say too much about that because there's lawsuits flying around, but I'll just say this. I don't trust the people that are covering it. Not all. I mean, some of them I trust, but others I don't. And I don't trust the people that are basically leading it or pushing it. If you look at who those people are and what they're doing, it's all the same story on loop, and that's all I'm going to say, because they're recklessly throwing out lawsuits about anybody pointing stuff out. So, what nation controls Congress? I'll tell you what nation Trump said used to control Congress, and now they don't completely control it. He said Israel. He said Israel used to completely control Congress. Now they don't because of AOC and Ilhan Omar. And that's why he probably hates Marjorie Taylor Greene too. And Trump, he said, he was hinting that it used to be better when Israel controlled it. It's like, because there's 4 politicians that aren't controlled by Israel, or 20, now it's a huge problem. Like, it was better when it was all of them. It's like, what are you talking about? But that's who Trump is. He's a total, like, why am I the only one who did this reporting? You know how many messages I've got recently on Instagram from people being like, Anomaly, I'm so sorry. You were right 2 years ago. You were right 4 years ago. Can I condemn Amazon for not paying delivery drivers holiday pay? I love Amazon drivers, and I love people that provide services that actually matter and like make people's lives better. So if you're an Amazon driver, first of all, God bless you. Your job is extremely meaningful, and I hope that people appreciate you, because like I said, that's like I love people that do things that actually like benefit society. And whether people will admit it or not, I think mailmen, delivery drivers, people that do work at restaurants, like, you do matter, in my opinion, more than most people, because you're providing a service that makes people happy, not just sitting on a Zoom call for some pharmaceutical company, doing nothing. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think Jeff Bezos makes a lot of money. I hope his delivery drivers make a lot too, because they do great work. And, I don't know, as a business owner, like, I've never had employees where I've had to like pay for holidays. So I don't really know enough about it to have an opinion, but I hope you guys get paid well. Let me see a few. Someone said, shout out to the delivery drivers and mailmen. 100%. I'm not going to get specific, but I have a lot of family members that are mailmen. So I've always appreciated delivery, mailmen. It's a great, important job. And, it's very embedded in my family, the postal service. Someone said, Trump's breath smells like Wall Street in Israel. Oh, the wall in Israel. I thought you said Wall Street. I mean that too. But, it, you know, people need to do their jobs well, and my industry is not. Like, they're not, and the reason it matters so much is because people believe people in my industry, and 95% of them are misleading them. But like I said, I've been getting a lot of messages where people are like, dude, I didn't want to believe what you were saying, I didn't want to believe it, I was hated you and now I like you. And I'm like, listen, just listen to what I'm saying. That's all I ask. Go to my Instagram, Dream Rare, DreamRare, spelled just like that. My videos, and I'm not trying to brag because there's other people that do a good job, but my videos are some of the best journalistic videos because I'm not just talking out of my ass. Sure, I could make a video and be like, here's what I think. Who the fuck cares what I think? Who cares what I think? I don't want you to care what I think. I want you to see what I think and show you why I think it. That's why my audience has self-respect. That's why a lot of people respect me. That's why I've stood the test of time. And I'm grateful for it because I don't treat people like they're retarded and I got a secret message from Q on my cell phone. Believe what I'm saying. No, don't believe what I'm saying. Let me show you the evidence. And then you could go look it up on your own. And then you could decide, did he just make a point? Did he just show me something I didn't see? Did he just, create a, like, I'm not just making up, oh, Trump met with Bill Gates. It's provable. It's all there. Nobody just wants to look at it because it shatters their paradigm. So it's like, I don't want people to believe everything I'm saying. I do reporting analyst journalistic videos that show you a video that if I didn't know and I watched it, I would believe it too, because it's like, oh shit, that, and to be honest and to be fair, that's how I learned this stuff. Someone who showed me stuff. You know what I'm saying? I look at who's doing good reporting on any topic. And I don't, it's like that's why it's so annoying and cringe too when people are talking about, well, Tucker did this and Fuentes did this and Glenn Greenwald. I get it. Everyone did something, right? Everyone said something. He said a mean joke. Tucker did this, whatever. But it's like, what value do they have? It's like, I don't care about the mean word they said. I like, is there value there? Are they teaching you anything you never saw? Are they right? Whether they're right or like, then you could incorporate that. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to agree with everything someone says. You don't have to like them. You could not like someone personally and learn from them if they have value. In my industry, most people have no value. They're not doing anything. I've been saying this for 6 years. What are you guys paying all these people for? I'm not going to get into specifics, but I busted my ass for the last 10 years providing value, and I've earned everything I've got. And I probably could have got a lot more if I would have done different things. But in general, it's like, why are you supporting all these other people? What are they doing for you? They put on a Trump shirt and stand on a plane with a retarded face on. Like, what are they doing? They just suck up to Trump and get to go to Mar-a-Lago and hang out with rich people and donors. Some people are probably literally working for donors, and you guys don't even like what value are they giving you to even want to watch this? I don't get it. I love seeing people that are great at their job. I love greatness. I love great quarterbacks. I love sports. I love great music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a fan of greatness. I'm not a fan of nothing. And most people in this industry, they're not doing anything. They're doing nothing, literally nothing. I still, are people, I believe they're starting to wake up. What's my ethnicity? I've said it a few times, but I'm a quarter Polish, I believe, a quarter Italian, I believe, a quarter Czechoslovakian, whatever that means, Czech and Slovakian. So maybe that's split. And then I'm part Puerto Rican, and my Puerto Rican grandma, I think, was like very small percentages like German and French or something. I don't know. I've never taken a DNA test, but I'm like at least Italian, Polish, Puerto Rican, Czech, and Slovakian. So I'm like super mixed. I'm the American dream. I'm the Hart-Celler Act. No, I'm just kidding. But I guess I'm probably before the Hart-Celler Act because I think all my family got there before that. But anyway, yeah, I'm all mixed up. I was making a joke to my friend because I was saying, when it comes to the Bad Bunny halftime show, I'm mostly European. So I understand why people don't want Bad Bunny at the halftime show, right? he doesn't speak English. It's the Super Bowl. Most people who watch are going to be American and speak English, and they're going to have no idea what he's saying. And it's probably not going to be appealing to like 95% of the people watching the Super Bowl, because it's really a sport that's big in America. It's not like the World Cup. Like, most people watching are going to be in America. But like I said, I am part Puerto Rican, so the Puerto Rican part of me it really wants to see Bad Bunny. You know what I'm saying? So I'm constantly at conflict with myself. Like 85% of me is like, this is America, damn it, speak English. But then that Puerto Rican side of me, you know what I'm saying, kind of wants to hear Bad Bunny. I'm not gonna lie, I have a Bad Bunny song on my playlist. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I may or may not have hung out with some fine Latino women, and they may or may not have added it to my playlist. I'm pleading the fifth, but let's just say I do have a Bad Bunny song on my playlist. So I understand why Americans don't want him there. And I almost completely agree, but I kind of want to see him more than Kendrick Lamar. I'm a Kendrick Lamar fan, but I didn't like the halftime performance. I thought it was not great. So we'll see what it is this year. It'll be funny. It'll bring in a lot of Hispanics. They'll make a lot of money off it. And, we'll go from there. But yeah. And one thing I will say too about people asking my ethnicity, here's what I do find weird, right? I think no matter your ethnicity, whether you're white, whether you're Asian, whether you're Indian, whether you're African, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Spanish, I don't think you should ever be ashamed of who you are, right? Because that's your family, that's your ancestors. Why would you be ashamed of your heritage? You never, regardless of your race, you should not be ashamed of your heritage. Never, right? But here's what I will say, and you should, and here also this too. You should never bully someone because of who they are. I mean, you could speak honestly about race and immigration and stuff. I don't care. That's not bullying. That's just facts. But like individually, personally attacking somebody just for their race doesn't make sense to me. With that being said, I will say most of the racial backlash online is not necessarily because somebody is a race. It's just because they're full of shit. So then people joke about them. Like if I was fat, people would joke about me being fat. I have long hair. People joke about that. People make fun of my facial features. If you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. So it's like, people make fun of people racially just because that's a part of it. Like Dinesh D'Souza, I don't think anybody was making fun of him until everybody realized he's like a piece of garbage. Then the jokes become personal. I'm not saying I co-sign the jokes because some of them are nasty and I would never do it. But it's like if you were actually cool, and same with like Vivek. Nobody said anything about Vivek until he did his whole like American blah blah blah, and then it becomes personal. And I'm not saying it's right, but it's like Randy Fine is fat and everybody points it out. If I were fat and black, people would point that out. I'm just not. So people make fun of my hair, or some people make fun of my ethnicity. I'm not saying it's right. That's just the reality of it. I do feel like for the most part, if you're not a complete phony, people tend to support you, but there's always going to be haters. And with that too, I do want to say this about ethnicity. I do find it weird when people don't disclose their ethnicity, but they're doing shady stuff for their ethnicity without telling people that they are that ethnic group. You understand what I'm saying? Let me give you an example. I hate to do it, but whatever. Mali. Javier Mali was like crying at the wall. He's an atheist, right? He's crying at the wall. He's meeting with rabbis. And I thought that was weird because I'm like, he's not Jewish. Like and he's not only not Jewish ethnically, I thought, and he's not Jewish religiously. He's an atheist. Like, and he's not Christian either. It's not like he's a Christian Zionist. So I'm like, why is he so emotional at the wall? Why is he like crying? If you're a Christian or a Jew or, you know what I'm saying, or practice Judaism, like I get it. But then a year after he wins, then he's like, oh yeah, I'm Jewish. Like that's a little weird, right? You know what I'm saying? Isn't that kind of weird? And same with other people I know that present themselves as like, I'm Irish or I'm this, but they're really half something else. And like, that's a main part of their agenda. They just don't tell anybody. That's a little weird to me. Like, let's just say nobody knew I was Puerto Rican, right? And everything I was doing was for Puerto Ricans and Hispanics and Puerto Ricans. And I'm like, Puerto Rico needs to be a state. Puerto Ricans get discriminated against. You're an anti-Puerto Rico phobe. Like, imagine if I was doing that 24/7, but I never told people I was Puerto Rican. Wouldn't that be weird? Wouldn't that be really weird? There's a lot of people that do that in politics and media, and I find it really weird. I respect people that are just honest about it. And like I said, there's a balance of like, you should, regardless of your ethnicity, you should never be ashamed of your heritage. White, black, Asian, Jewish, like Arab, whatever, Mexican. Why would you be ashamed of yourself? Why would you be ashamed of your ancestors? Why would you be ashamed of your DNA? You should love and appreciate yourself and love your family and love your parents and love your grandparents. Never be ashamed of your ethnicity. Never. Um, Never treat an individual bad based on their ethnicity. Why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? That's evil. But then, like I said, also online, like people make jokes about everything. So I think a lot of, not that it's right, but a lot of people make racial jokes towards bad people because they're just pointing out certain things. And I like I said, like if you're super based and super pro America and super like on point, it's different than like lobbying for the country you're in. You know what I'm saying? And like being like a national for a different country, whether it's any country. So there's a lot going on racially, but those are my opinions. Someone said Jews are white. Well, I'm not gonna tell you what's what, because if you're talking about a color, it's like some Jews are white, some are darker. But if you're talking about like European versus Jewish, listen to Ben Shapiro get asked if he's white or Jewish. Some liberal says you're white, and he says, no, I'm Jewish. I'm not white. Like, you can consider me white, but I'm not. I'm like, same within the interview with Morgan Freeman when he talked to Mike Wallace. He goes, do you want a White History Month? And Mike Wallace goes, well, I'm Jewish. And then Morgan Freeman goes, do you want a Jewish History Month? He goes, no. And then Morgan Freeman goes, well, I don't want a Black History Month. Stop talking about it. So, I don't care what people see themselves as. Like, if you want to call yourself white, golden, orange, who cares? But you have to understand that most Jewish people do not see themselves as white. They see themselves as Jewish, and they see themselves very, very different from Europeans, right? So that's just ethnically the reality of it. I don't care. I don't care what you think you are or what you are, but I think that's the part that most people don't realize. And I'm not trying to like make the whole stream about this because it has nothing to do with this, but I'm just trying to be like educational and respectful. There's something called the Jewish ethnicity. There's the Jewish religion. Most ethnically Jewish people do not see themselves as white, and most ethnically Jewish people are not religiously Jewish, but the religion of Judaism is very strongly centered around ethnicity. So it's very confusing to the average person, but whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to figure it out, you will, but it is what it is. That's just like breaking that stuff down. Most people don't understand that, but and I don't want to say all, because there's crazy people of all races and religions, right? But someone said I'm talking out of my ass. Now I'm literally 100% right, and you should listen and stop being retarded. But anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah. If you listen to a lot of, not all, or I won't even say a lot, let's just say some. If you listen to some people that are ethnically Jewish and perhaps religiously Jewish, some of them are not a huge fan of Europeans, right? And it goes all ways. I'm not saying this is exclusive to them. There's people that don't like other people and do like people. But if you say something that ethnic group considers hateful, even if it's not, they'll call you an anti-Semite. If you notice some of them and some of their organizations are anti-European, they call you an anti-Semite. Like, there is no word for the reverse anti-Semite. It's just anti-Semitic to notice. And what I've noticed over the last couple of years is, I'm not going to say all because it's not true. I'm not even going to say half. Let's just say a small amount. But there are groups and there are people that they don't consider themselves white, and they don't necessarily think highly of Europeans. And in some cases, they think about thousands of years of persecution or perhaps conflict. I think Netanyahu recently was talking about Rome, and I've listened to a lot of debates and interviews with Jewish and Christian, etc. And whether it's Alan Dershowitz or Rabbi Barclay, they always talk about 2,000 years ago anti-Semitism started. So most Europeans and most Christians are just totally oblivious, right? And other people as well. They're just completely oblivious of what's going on. They have no idea. Their pastor won't tell them. They won't listen to streams like this that try to educate them. They have no idea. But at the end of the day, it's like anti-Semitism started 2,000 years ago, they said. Well, what else happened 2,000 years ago? The death of Christ. How did anti-Semitism start there? Listen to what they say. I'm not making this up. I'm listening to what some high-level people in the community are saying. And they're saying after Jesus was murdered, a lot of Christians, the original disciples, the original Christians, wanted to convert Jews to Christianity. And that was I guess, or allegedly, the original crime of anti-Semitism. It started with Christians who wanted people to be Christians. So Christians don't realize it, but they are anti-Semites. And someone mentioned Amalek, which is important. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to say it once. Please listen to it and digest it. When Israel unleashed a lot of havoc on Palestine, not all, but some of their leaders were saying, we are unleashing havoc on Amalek. And a lot of them believe historically and religiously and scripturally, they have the right to just completely destroy Amalek, this biblical enemy of theirs. But what people don't realize is if you read enough Israeli media, which I do, I like reading and understanding. I don't like talking out of my ass. I've read, I believe it was in the Times of Israel, where they were asking a lot of rabbis in Israel who they considered Amalek. And some of them were saying Armenians, and some of them were saying Christians or Europeans. I can't remember the exact, I'd have to look it up exactly. Let me do that because I want to be completely accurate, right? Israel, I'll just say Amalek, Armenians. I just searched the keywords. Let me see. Let me see here. I'm just trying to find that article. Well, I can't find it, but I'll just say I remember from memory, and I'll try to find it after this. I remember that some in the article cited, it might not have been Times of Israel, it might have been one of the other ones like Jerusalem Post or something. But the rabbis were saying some of them thought that it was Armenians, and then others thought that it were, I think, Christians or Europeans. But actually, here, I know how to find it because I posted about it one time on X. Hold on, give me 1 second. Energy post about Amalek link. All right, I'm using like Grok to try to find it real quick. Sorry about the delay, but I want to be, I want to be as accurate as I possibly can. All right, here it is. Let's see. Okay, this is from Jerusalem Post. It says, indeed, many rabbis identified Amalek with a specific people, such as the Christians and the Armenians. So there's a lot of Zionist Christians that believe, well, it's okay that they wipe out Israel. It's okay that they say that it's okay that they wipe out Palestine, Israel doing it to the Palestinians and to Gaza, right? And they'll say, it's okay because, that's Amalek. And okay, well, is that all? Is that all they think Amalek is? Do they think it's only Palestinians? Some probably do, but some also think it's Armenians, and some apparently think it's Christians. So if Christians are Amalek, then that means somebody wants to completely wipe you out, essentially, and use biblical terms in the justification. I'm not saying everyone believes that. I'm not saying it's a huge portion. I don't know how many it is, but I'll tell you what, we're never going to find out and know because nobody in media, especially conservative media or Christian media, they don't seem to notice or care about any of this stuff. So you understand what I'm saying? It's really understood by a lot of people, and it's a huge part of the equation. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see where all this goes. But I think that at the end of the day, there are definitely people out there that consider themselves a separate race, and they don't look at other races and other religions as completely equal. In some cases, they look at you as inferior. In other cases, they look at you as Amalek. Depends who you talk to, depends what you think. But when Christian Zionists figure this out, it's going to be quite the shocker. It's going to be quite the revelation for them. No pun intended. And why why people don't want to figure this out, I think it's another thing to bring it back to the beginning. It's kind of like Marjorie Taylor Greene waking up to who Trump is and Matt Walsh waking up to what Daily, like it's Neo in the Matrix. Like, do you really want to know? Do you really want to figure this out? Because it might shatter your whole worldview. It might shatter what you heard from your pastor for 50 years. It might shatter what you've heard from your media company for 40. So it's like some people just don't they don't even want to see it. They don't want to believe it. They don't want to look there. You understand that it's not something that they want to even know because they can't handle it. Someone said a Puerto Rican who hates Israel. Well, you spelled Puerto Rican wrong, and I don't hate Israel. I don't hate Israel. I love Israel. I appreciate everybody to some extent. Obviously, some people I don't like, but if you want to really know what I'm saying, I don't expect anything from Israel or their politicians, and I'm just educating people on the reality of the world. Just like there was a man named Schaeffer who wrote Jesus in the Talmud, and he said, if you want to know what they say about Jesus in the Talmud, here's the book Jesus in the Talmud. And I think he explained, I'm not trying to ruin the relationship between this religion and this religion. I'm just trying to be honest, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just being honest. I don't hate anyone, but also my problem is not with Israel or Israelis. I mean, obviously I don't agree with everything they're doing, but my issue is with American politicians who are supposed to serve America. If Trump is the president of the United States and he says that Israel used to literally own our Congress and now they don't, and that's a problem, I would be annoyed if I was an Israeli and Netanyahu said that America should own Israeli Congress. But Netanyahu would never say that because Netanyahu, to his credit, cares about his people, or at least tries to. I don't know that his methods are correct and are going to help, but it's like Netanyahu tries to serve his people. Trump does not serve his people. Trump wants a foreign nation apparently to run Congress. So my issue is with Trump, with Ted Cruz, with our politicians. I don't expect Zelensky to serve America. Who's sending him money, So it has nothing to do with hate. I don't hate a foreign nation. I love my country and I want our country to serve our country. And it gets very tiresome, people trying to morally blackmail you and say, oh, you're an anti-Semite and you're a hater if you don't agree with all my policies. It's like Charlie Kirk said, it's moral blackmail. It's people trying to essentially, say I'm going to lie about you and say that you're hateful. I'm going to lie about you and say that you're a bad person until what? I agree with foreign aid. I stop talking about the speech laws. I'm oblivious that a lot of Jewish people consider it an ethnicity, and for some it's a religion. Like what did I say that was so wrong? What did I say that was so bad? What part of anything I said today was hateful at all? Like it doesn't, you can go back for I've been saying the same thing for 6 years now. It's not hateful. I'm not a hateful person. You can't make me hateful. You can't make, but what people can do and what the, media can do is they can make people more divided by making people emotional. They can make both sides irrational, and then it creates conflict and chaos. I can only play my part. I can't help other people from acting insane, but I don't need to go insane. I don't need to judge people based on something that doesn't make sense. So I'm playing my part, but a lot of people are not. If you want to think people that are ethnically Jewish are white, Bob, you can. Go watch the liberal conversation with Ben Shapiro. She kept calling Ben Shapiro white, and Ben Shapiro kept correcting her. Morgan Freeman called Mike Wallace white, and Mike Wallace corrected him and said, I'm not white, I'm Jewish. If you want to believe that Jews are white, you could think that. If they look like that color to you, I don't care, bro. You can call me golden, you can call me black, you can call me white. It doesn't matter to me. But if you want to understand what's going on and how people see themselves and what they consider ethnicity, they do not consider themselves European, and they do not consider themselves white. Some do. Some say I'm white, but I'm really Jewish. That's the part. It's like, it depends who you talk to. I'm not saying it's like a concrete rule, but I would say if you asked Ben Shapiro if he's white, he would say, well, I'm Jewish. I'm not white. But I don't think he cares if you call him white, because the more people are confused about it, I don't think it matters to him, what you believe or not. And I'm not 23andMe. I'm not telling you what, I don't know. How am I supposed to know? I'm not a DNA collector. I'm not a scientist who studies genetics. There's some people that say they're not this, they're not that, they're from here, they're from Poland. I don't know. How am I supposed to know? You know what I'm saying? I tend to think that they are their own ethnicity. I think there is, I do think there is like a unique ethnicity there, but maybe not. I have no idea. How am I supposed to know? I would just be guessing. You said the color of his skin is white, bro. Like I said, I don't care what you think about somebody. I have black friends that say I'm black. I have black friends that say I'm black, but I'm really not black. I'm Native American. I talk to my ancestors. Not all black people came from Africa. They tell people all black people came from Africa so they could tell black people that all black people came from slaves so they could be pissed off so that they can emotionally manipulate both sides to fight. I have very high IQ black friends who know their ancestors and know their family and their grandparents. And they, even though they look black, they were told that they're not actually from Africa. They're Native Americans. So, they want people to think that every black person came from Africa. It's like this like mental trick. If you want to call a black person black or a brown person brown, I don't care. I don't think I'm white. I don't look like the wall. Well, that's a green wall, but I don't, I'm not that white. I'm like more peach. Sometimes I'm more golden, but I don't care. Call me white, call me brown. Your opinion of my skin color doesn't really matter. I'm just talking about the difference between broad terminology and actual ethnic groups. But I feel like it's interesting. If it's not interesting to you or you don't want to hear it, it is what it is. I'm sure most smart people get it. I'm a New World citizen. I don't know what that means. Someone said Scientology is a more valid religion than Judaism. Well, that's your opinion. I mean, I don't know enough about Scientology and what exactly they're doing, but I'm not here to tell people how legitimate their religion is. I'm here to be a better Christian, be a better person. I don't feel inspired to talk down to other people's religion. I just like to be honest about what I know. Anomaly has no time for the comments, but I still liked your show. I literally just answered 7 comments. What are you talking about? Are you trying to like shame me into answering your comment? Anomaly has no time for me anymore, bro. What? How? Why? I just read one. Someone said all of whites come from Greeks. I don't know if that's true, but if you want to believe so, I don't. All right. Any other topics? I think we said enough on race, but let's see. Someone said Native Americans weren't black, but they did take some slaves and absorb them into their tribe. It's possible. I don't know. It's hard for me to really debate like 300 years ago because I would just be speculating and I don't know how accurate the records are or what the most authoritative record of racial integration in America and ships and natives. I don't know. Talk about the time Bibi said he sold the people of Israel to Pfizer. I never heard him say that, but I would have to look it up if it's true. I remember him saying something, but I don't remember exactly. Thoughts on Candace Owens? I mean, she seems like she's going through a lot and doing a lot now. So I would say, God bless her and pray for her because I feel like she's getting involved in a lot of issues right now between the France thing that she's talking about. If that ends up being true, that would be crazy. Obviously, she's going hard at the Charlie stuff and throwing a lot of stuff at a lot of people as far as like, trying to do a million things at once and investigate everything. So I mean, I would say this time will tell all. So for me, that's where I'm at with all the stuff. And this is no disrespect or anything, but for me, I don't really watch the Daily Show right now. I did catch a bunch of the early ones, but it's just like, I don't know, time will tell all. And I think in this industry, for me, this is just my personal vantage point as far as like, obviously there's certain people I trust, and even the people that I trust, I always try to make sure that I verify what they're talking about and can make sure it's true before I say it. And with that sort of stuff, I feel like, I don't know, doing a lot at one time where I'm not really able to verify it or know if it's true or not. So me speculating on it or me saying it is or isn't, it doesn't matter. Like what matters is the truth. And I don't know. She's doing like a million things at once. So I'm like, we'll see. You know what I'm saying? Like, can she solve that mystery while she's getting sued by Macron, while she says they're sending people out? Like, I don't know. I want to wait, be patient, and then see what factual information comes out. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to, tail it and believe everything or disagree. I just want to, it's one of those things that time will tell all. And, she said a lot of stuff and says that she knows what she's talking about. So, if it's all true, then we'll all know eventually. One example, I'll give credit where it's due, of something that she was right about. She claimed that Charlie was like basically feeling different about Israel before he passed. And besides the public interviews where he was saying he was getting called an anti-Semite, that seemed like a pretty unlikely at the time. Like, I'm not saying for sure, but it's like, did he really? And then the text messages came out where 2 days before he died, he said some things in the text, and the guy at Turning Point confirmed that they were real. So, it's like, if I would have said before those texts came out that I believed what she said or I didn't, it like, my opinion doesn't matter. So, it's like, I didn't know of that. I knew I made a video based on what I could prove. Candace knew him. Candace talked to him. Candace is way more connected and clearly knows a lot of people that are giving her information. So, humbly, I don't think my opinion about her really matters. I think the truth matters. And if she can provide receipts and evidence like she did for that specific thing, which was a massive bombshell and a massive, in my opinion, journalistic win, for humanity and our country, then in time it will show. And like I said, she's just doing and saying so many things that it's like they all will come to fruition. It's like she's the Macron thing. There's the Egyptian plane thing that I'm not quite following or understanding, but it's like, it's like this, she's giving out new information all the time. There's obviously a lot of different people that she's talking about during the Charlie thing. Now she's saying that France was going after her. So it's just like, my opinion doesn't matter. I just want to see what receipts she shows. And I think for me, like, regardless of any of those instances, like, I'm looking for concrete, clear, like, provable evidence similar to the text messages that came out 2 days before. That's completely clear. She was vindicated on that. But all this other stuff, I feel like it's all up in the air right now. So my opinion about it doesn't really matter. But like I said, there's so many going on at once that I'm not able to verify what she's saying. She's, like, all over the place with a million different topics. So I don't know. What am I really supposed to say about it? It's like constantly changing. It's not like I'm more just waiting, to be honest, if that makes sense. Hopefully that was answered your question. Someone said, super chat, please look into my buddy David Baumblatt's story and maybe getting him on your show. He's an American military veteran stuck in China because of our corrupt government. He was on InfoWars with Owen as well. Why is he stuck in China? That's crazy. Sorry to hear that. Someone said, dude, you're occupied, aren't you? Adam, who do you like? No, but who do you think I'm occupied by? I don't even know your angle. Someone says Anomaly has journalistic integrity. Here's what I'll say too. And I know, like, this isn't what people want to hear. And I understand that. At times I'm very popular. At times I'm not. At times people believe what I'm saying. At times they don't. Like, I can't control what other people do or think. But I think a lot of people are super emotional. For example, I saw through Trump before most people did. I'm not going to say like original. I'm sure there's people way before me, years or decades, but I saw through the pandemic. I called him Grandpa Moderna. I knew he was a phony. Most people, it took them 5 years to admit that. With Vivek, I don't know a single other person that like, everybody just open armed to a pharmaceutical billionaire. They got lobbied essentially by his charm and, flattery skills. And nobody gave him a real interview besides me. So it's one of those things, like, people could say whatever they want. They could act like I'm not doing this or not doing that. I'm accurate. Okay. And I control what I say and I control what I do. And how other people want to go about it, that's their business, right? I'm not here to babysit everyone else or please what they're saying. And for me personally, if there was anyone out there that did exactly what I wanted to do or thought what I thought, then I wouldn't even ever have a job, because then it would be covered. So with other people, a lot of times they do things I agree with. A lot of times they do things that I find not on point, and it's no disrespect or anything, but it's just the reality of the situation. I had on Owen Schroyer the other day, love Owen, And, he said, I don't agree with everything that you say, right? Which is completely understandable. And I'm not offended. But at the end, I was just curious. I was like, because I thought maybe it was like something new where we could have like a friendly discussion about it. Because I'm not just trying to talk to myself. Like if someone smart and honest tells me something that I'm wrong about, I like to switch my opinion. But I said, what do you disagree with me on? And he goes, well, back in the day, I disagreed with you on Trump. You were calling him Grandpa Moderna. I think you came up with that nickname, which I did. And he was like, and I didn't see that, but now I see it and I agree with you. So it's like, okay, it was, and to be fair, Owen was really early on the lockdown, very, very against it. I think he, most people did not see through the lockdown as early as Owen. So it's not like I'm better than him. Like there's a lot of things he did that were even earlier than me and more on point. But with with that topic, it's like I was 4 or 5 years ahead than most people. So there, it's not a competition, but I guess what I would say is like if you gave me someone's name and we followed their whole career from 2016 until now, everybody learns things at different time. Everybody works for different people. Everybody has their own motives. Only God and they know who they really are and what they really mean and why they're doing it. I don't know. I don't know what people's intentions are. And if I think I do, I'll say it. But with other people, it's like they didn't take the path that I took. They didn't work where I worked. They didn't say what I said. They were, in some cases, really early on certain topics, in other cases, way late. Why? I don't know. I asked Owen about it when he was on the show, not to be combative because I like Owen, but I was just curious because it's like, I want to know, like, why did you notice certain things like this year, last year versus like, and I said it in a respectful way, but I was like, do you think you just figured it out? Or do you think there was a lot of like pressure? Because I know, he worked at InfoWars, so I think he's way more free than most people were. But I know for a fact people worked at like mainstream Republican organizations where they ignored this stuff, and in some cases still are, because they know if they start talking about this stuff, they're going to get Candace Owens at that company. You get what I'm saying? It's like you're going to get fired, or they're going to call you an anti-Semite. So I just wanted to know, just like from his own mouth, like, what did you just kind of look into it, or was there pressure? Because I'm not knocking anyone either way. So I guess, like I said, I don't know people's true intentions. I don't know what they're doing. And if I follow certain people and they do things that I don't agree with, it's not like I write them off completely, but I like to watch things that add value and teach me something new, and people that I could trust and really believe. And if I can't trust certain people, or I don't know what they're doing, then it's just like, I don't know. There's nothing really for me there. So, yeah, it's like I'm responsible for what I say. I'm responsible for the content I put out, and I don't know. I guess I'm not inspired to just like shadow other people all the time and react to what they're doing. It's like if I'm inspired to do it, then I'll do it. No problem. I defend people when I believe they deserve to be defended. I've defended people on all sides that I knew would not be right at the time, but yeah, when it comes to certain news stories and certain things that people are saying, it's like, let's see, let's see how it plays out, and let's see the evidence. I'm very evidence based. I don't, I don't do like, I want to see it, if I could see it and there's proof and it's indisputable for me, that's perfect. I'm like, well, now how could I possibly disagree, And if somebody, like, for example, there were people that knew that Charlie felt that way that were saying he didn't, and then the text messages came out, and it's like, well, I'll never trust you again because you knew that he said that and you still lied about it, So it's like that there's a game being played by a lot of people, and it's just, I know the game, I get what they're doing, and I don't want any part in it. I don't, there's a lot of things too that like remind me of, in a different way, of January 6th, not in the exact way, but like in January 6th, so many people were telling people on Twitter, if you don't go to January 6th, you're not a patriot. No, like there was so much pressure on X. How much of it was organic? How much of it wasn't? I have no idea. But let's just assume a lot of it was organic from influencers, right? With no accusations being put. How many people were tweeting out like, if you don't go to January 6th, you're a shill. We're going to remember that you didn't show up for Trump. And I'm not saying they knew it was going to turn into what it turned into. I legitimately think that most people thought it was going to be like a normal Trump rally. Honestly, Trump does rallies all over the place. Like I think most people, if not nearly all people there, literally just thought it would be a Trump hangout, right? I don't think they knew it was going to be Trump being like, march to the Capitol peacefully, like, and then people doing weird stuff. But in general, I resisted that pressure because I didn't trust Donald Trump. And at the time, 99% of Republican influencers that people probably think are more honest than me or better than me, whatever, I don't care. It's not a competition. Most of them would probably say, oh, anomalies this, anomalies that. And then 5 years later, they're like, oh, it was a Fed trap. Oh, I shouldn't have gone. Oh, I should have known. I only knew because I just knew not to trust Trump. I didn't know it was going to turn into that. I didn't know it was that. I told people even on my show at one point, because there was a lot of pressure on influencers to go to January 6th. I told people these 3 things. I said, let me tell you why I'm not going to January 6th. 1, I'm not a professional protester. I'm a news analyst. I don't fly across the country. When have you seen me fly to a protest? Literally never. If I protested during the lockdown, I protested in Orange County where I lived. I protested my neighborhood who was locking me down. I'm not flying to Kansas to protest there. Like, I'm an activist in my own community if I have a reason to. I'm not flying to DC, paying thousands of dollars of my own money, sitting on a plane, wearing a pharmaceutical mask just to role play activist for 4 hours for Donald Trump and take a selfie. And also I said, I don't even really trust or like Trump anymore. He's better than Biden. But I told people, I'm like, he's selling vaccines. He locked the country down. I'm not going to an event for a guy that I don't really trust. And to be fair, I went to the one in Arizona because my friends wanted to go to a Trump rally. I did some interviews. I hung out. Some guy recognized me and like put me in. He's like, do you want to stand here? That worked for Trump's campaign. But in general, even then, it's like, I don't know. I guess I thought to myself at that time, I hope that Donald Trump wins the election and I hope that he changes after the election. And then after he lost the election, he just started selling like Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. Like, he leaned heavier into the pharmaceuticals. I remember the timeline because I was doing reporting every day. He was shilling the vaccine like harder in November and December than he did in his entire term. Of course, he was like selling the vaccine, but it was like Moderna. That's why I started calling him Grandpa Moderna. So it's like, I've already played this game of like, trust Trump, wait a few months, the election's coming up, I still did reporting about Trump in 2020, but I was like, all right, I'll lay off for a month, watch the election, see what happens. And then after the election, he was just shilling extra hard. And I'm like, all right, I don't trust this guy anymore. Like, he's a liar. So I don't know. It's like my intuition told me, like, don't waste your money. Don't fly on a plane. Don't try to role play professional activist and go to DC. I've been to DC. I don't like DC. I don't like DC. I don't like how it feels. It's too political. It's weird. It was ghetto when I went. I don't like that city. I'm not flying just to march in the streets. That seemed really dumb to me. But anyway, that probably saved my life and career. I have no doubt, just based on how things went and just based on how crazy the feds were going after Trump supporters, I have no doubt if I showed up anywhere near the Capitol that day, that they would have hassled me for years and tried to ruin my career. I wouldn't say I'm 100% sure about it, but it's like, thank God I saw through Donald Trump. Thank God I don't think I'm a professional activist. Thank God I don't follow the trends. So I don't really care what people think about me or what people think of certain things, because there's a lot of things that seem like traps to me. Let me give you another example of when I disagreed with 99% of MAGA. I didn't think Dinesh D'Souza's documentary was that great. I seen parts of it. I got the concept. People explained it to me. I'm like, cell phone ping data of car, like, it's not enough. And then he ended up getting sued and like apologizing for somebody that was filmed in the documentary, where it's like, I'm a smart guy. I listened to what was in it. I watched part of it. I let people explain to me exactly what was like, the premise of it. And I'm like, it's a nothing burger to me, where it's like, it's not like full concrete evidence. It's basically like a little mystery trail not going anywhere. That's what I thought. Nobody believed me. Nobody agreed with me. 4 years later, it didn't do anything. So like, whatever, and now it's the same sort of thing where it's like, there's a lot of just, I don't know. I just don't like to follow the crowd. If I'm inspired to go to an event or something, I'll go to an event, but I don't care what people think. I don't care. Vivek was another one. Who interviewed Vivek? Who said, wait, he's a pharmaceutical billionaire. I don't know if I completely trust him. I think DC Drano, to his credit, even though I disagree with DC Drano on a lot, I think he was one of the only influencers I can remember that didn't like Vivek for different reasons than me, or some shared. But like I said, there's a lot of things I don't like or agree with DC Drano on. But to his credit, he's the only person I remember who actually challenged Vivek in some sort of meaningful way, And I believe Candace hosted the debate between them two. And I watched that debate, and no offense to Drano, I just felt like Drano didn't do a good job. He didn't do a thorough job, and they let Vivek off the hook without, like, Vivek said something about his book, and they agreed, and I was like, no, that's not true. So that's what inspired me to even do the interview. I was like, nobody's doing a good job. DC Drano's, in that interview was trying to, but I don't think he did a great job. So then I did it myself. I was like, I'll do it. But that's my question too. It's like, how many, name another influencer, anyone that said, wait, we just sat through a lockdown, Operation Warp Speed, and pharmaceutical communism. Let me not trust this pharmaceutical billionaire who said he cried on January 6th and wrote books about Mike Pence, or at least, like, giving Mike Pence credit. Like why? What? I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Am I Neo in the Matrix? Am I Jim Carrey in that movie? I don't even remember the name, but it would be way cooler if I did the Truman Show. Am I Jim Carrey in the Truman Show? Am I Neo in the Matrix? No one else thought this stuff. Nobody else. Oh, the pharmaceutical billionaire. Everyone's like, he should be the vice president. Why should he be the vice president? What are you talking about? You just figured out who this guy was 5 months ago, and you want to let him be the vice president? And this is like, what? Who cares what everybody else thinks about stuff? So that's all I'm saying. It's no disrespect, no shade to anybody, because there's a lot of people doing a lot of great work. But don't hate me for being patient about some things, and don't hate me for not jumping on every trend, because the truth will reveal itself, and my opinion doesn't matter. If I thought my opinion mattered, I'd make 15 videos a day about everything. I make entertaining stuff. I make educational stuff. I make things that I'm inspired to make, and sometimes I'd like to help. But I don't think my opinion matters. The only reason, and people think that's great. What do you mean your opinion doesn't matter? I'm not successful because of my opinion. I'm successful because of my facts. I'm successful because of my presentations of journalism. I would win a Pulitzer Prize if it wasn't reserved for people that are total shills and government agents, essentially, and maybe one day I could win a different award if I get better production, but I don't even care. I'm just saying, like, my work is phenomenal. I'm very thorough. I'm very educational. It's not my opinion. It's not an opinion show. It's not sometimes but even my opinions, you like listening because they're based on reality, but it's like, I don't think so much of myself that I think my opinions are matter. My work is good because I lead with facts. I don't say things I can't prove. I try to be as accurate as possible. And that's why I'm so far ahead of most people on every topic. It's not because, like I said, my opinions are good. Sometimes I look at something and I think something and I'm wrong. Oh, well, is that person going to be famous? Yeah, I think so. And then they're not. Or no, I don't think so. And then they are. Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes I'm wrong. Who's going to win the election? Sometimes I think it's the Democrat and it's the Republican. Sometimes I don't know. My opinion doesn't matter. My opinion about things. It's my presentations based on reality that are factual and provable. So just like I do that, I like that. I like people that do that. I like people that show the facts. And it doesn't mean people have to. Opinion shows are fine. Speculation is understandable, but it's like, I don't jump on any train unless I could prove it. Or, I trust the work that I do because I do it myself and I'm very OCD about it. If someone else can do the type of work that I do, then I trust it. Then there's nothing to disagree with, and you don't even need my opinion because it's all right there. If it's a moving piece and a moving part, then my opinion means nothing. It doesn't matter. You want to lock up Marjorie Taylor Greene? That's crazy. I'm guessing you're joking, but so the worst thing you could do is tell people who your favorite politicians are. Extremely cringe. I mean, it would be cringe if I had like a poster or something, but I like Thomas Massey. I've said it a million times. It's not because I'm a super fan. It's because he's actually an honorable person who's not completely sold out, and everyone else pretty much is. So if you want to think that's cringe, oh, it's so cringe. Oh, let's laugh. Let's point and laugh at Anomaly. He's so cringe. Don't look at me. I'm cringe. Shut. I'm cool. I'm very cool. Stop making fun of me. Stop bullying me. Stop cyberbullying me, or I'm going to pass an executive order to stop all cyberbullies. Stop it. Someone said, sometimes I only eat Oreo centers. Why are you sharing that? Who, what? Why? Okay. Anything else you want to tell us? You want to make this your show? You want to make this a mukbang cooking show or something? Anyway. Do I think Mamdani will arrest Bibi? The real question that matters is, do I think he will arrest Bibi? No. Personally, do I even think he has the authority to arrest Bibi? No. He's the mayor of New York City. The police are probably pro-Israel. Don't the New York City police like train with IDF members or something? So it's like, do I think Trump should give me $1 billion? Who cares? Do I think, they're going to eliminate the income tax? No. Do I think they should? Of course. Are they going to? So I'm not trying to be, but it doesn't matter. It's like Trump saying he's going to build a snozzberry tree for everybody. He's not going to arrest Netanyahu. He doesn't have the authority to. And the police department and NYPD are probably support Israel because I believe they train together, which is crazy. But you asked why David's stuck in China. He's a former FBI agent himself and a West Pointer that quit the FBI. Well, I'll have to look into the story. I mean, it sounds like crazy. He's stuck in China. He's former FBI. I'll try to look into it. Let me I forget the last name. You don't have to super chat again, bro, but just write the name down again and I'll try to look into it. New York has had the police department in Israel. Yeah, NYPD Israel train. Let's see. Do they train in Israel? The New York Police Department participates in joint training and intelligence sharing programs with the Israeli law enforcement and security agencies. Why would local New York City police be sharing intelligence with Israelis and training with them? Dude, this country is so weird. Should we go train with Ukrainians and give share intelligence with Zelensky? Everyone would be like, no, that's crazy. But that's what we're, so it's like who cares what Mamdani says about it? He can't. And I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but it's like I try to talk in reality and not hypotheticals. I mean, hypotheticals can be fun, but it's like, is Trump going to arrest Chuck Schumer? No, he's friends with him. It's not happening, or at least they're not really as opposed as they say. Then no, it's not happening. Someone said Mamdani's the only one that said he wouldn't go to Israel. It's why he won. He had a good answer for what country are you going to travel to there? Israel. It's like, and then one guy's like, I've been to Ukraine. I'll go to Israel. It's like, he was like, I'm just going to stay in New York and focus on New Yorkers. That's a great answer. He'll probably end up flying to Israel and kissing the wall, but we'll see if he does or doesn't. No, it's a good answer. I don't know if that's exactly why he won. I have to say this about Mamdani. I don't agree with his policies. I like him way less than Trump does. I don't believe he's authentic. I think he's a puppet. And I don't believe he'll do a good job in New York City. With all that being said, strategically, I think he ran a brilliant campaign. I think he's a very likable person, and he seems very pragmatic. Only a pragmatic communist would have a meeting with Trump, not these people screaming, I hate Trump. He does too, but he'll meet with him if he really hates him and it's not theater. But Mamdani's very smart. He ran a really good campaign, and he's very intelligent. I wish him the best, but I don't like him as much as Trump does, but we will see. Will Mamdani raid the UN building in New York City? Bro, he's not going to do anything. He's probably just going to put everybody on welfare, but I don't believe Mamdani is going to do everything he said he's going to do. I don't think he can. And he seems very pragmatic about it. But, maybe he could try some things. I just hope he tries some of his good ideas, not the bad ones. Do I get tired of political grifting? I don't politically grift. I mean, I definitely created a business around politics. But what do you think? Here, I'll give you a platform. But here, make sure you say it quickly. What do you think I grift about? What do you think's grifty? What do you disagree with me on? I'll give you a minute to respond. LG, I saw your name. Let me know, because I'm curious. What how am I a grifter? I have more. If you took my 200 best news analyses, I don't think anyone has that many high quality, completely accurate journalistic pieces as I do. Oh, because I voted twice for Trump, I'm grifting. How does my vote or not vote matter towards my business? I don't understand that. It's like people that think voting doesn't matter want to talk about voting all the time. I think it's like your ego, like you think it matters more than it does. I don't think it matters as much as people think, but I do think that it changes certain small policies. Judges, it changes. The border policy changes. And if it's completely rigged anyway and they choose who wins, then my vote doesn't matter. Then what's the point of talking about it for 4 years? So, you know, whether I vote or not, I mean, the next election, I'm almost definitely not going to vote. I'm completely uninspired right now, but it doesn't, it doesn't, it doesn't matter. And I made a video saying my strategic reason for it. I never said he was going to do everything I thought. To be honest, if you could ask me to go back, like who would I want to win, or Trump or Kamala? First of all, if it doesn't matter, then who cares? But also, I still would want Trump to win. I still want the border closed, and I want people to wake up to Trump is not the real deal. That matters to me. I don't think if he lost, people would have waken up to him not being the real deal, because Democrats would be in office destroying the country more, and people would think Trump was going to save it. So to me, Trump winning saved 4 years of people waking up to Trump. And you could disagree with me. I don't care. But what I find is that people that are not as smart or as great at what I do as they like, they think they're better than me. So it's like, you know, hopefully you're right, you know, but I don't like, that's the reality of the situation. People that are dumber than me and not as intelligent, they want to just spend 18 years talking about this stuff. It's like, do your own work, do reporting that matters, talk about Trump, please hold him accountable, and wake people up to the reality he's not the real deal. I've never impeded on people doing that. In fact, I was one of the, I'm not going to say the first one because that's not accurate, but definitely in my space, one of the original trailblazers of a lot of these narratives. So it's like you want to spend 20 years arguing with me whether I vote or not, when I have a strategic reason for voting. And I also know that even though 90% of it or 95% of it doesn't really change, 5% of it does. And if you don't want to admit that, you're not smarter than me. You're just more emotional and egotistical. You know, I don't, whether you vote or not vote does not change your videos to me. There's a guy, there's a few people that I think do good work, but there's a guy named like James Lee or something like that. I believe he's like he does like his own like Instagram and YouTube videos and stuff. I haven't seen all his stuff, but from what I've seen, maybe I've seen like 5 of them. He's very accurate and very on point. Whether he voted or didn't vote would not change. Like it wouldn't change that to me. I mean, I would think it would be weird if he voted for Kamala, but it's like, would him voting for Kamala change how great his videos are? No, I just want people to do a good job and be accurate and be honest about the politicians. Like I don't care how people vote, but if you do, okay, bro. I don't know why you guys are so egotistical and like pseudo intellectual. You're like, I'm a hero because I don't vote. Let me talk about it for 30 years. Like you sound retarded to high IQ people. No one's saying like you're bad for not voting. You're great. You're awesome. You're the best. But it's like, move on to something that matters and can shift the Overton window to some extent. Someone said his name is David Blomblatt. To top it off, he sued Boeing in China for violating Chinese labor and won. He was denied a trial in America. So he lived in China and sued China in China. That's crazy. I'm not saying he's wrong. It's just like, it's a crazy thing to do for an American to move to China and sue China in China. I'd have to look into it. Someone said, you don't even know what a U.S. citizen is, just saying. I've heard all those theories and angles where people are like, we're not really a citizen. You're a corporation. You could change your own tax laws. Bro, I'm not. Do what you got to do, bro. I'm not like, it doesn't matter to me. If that's your vibe, it's on you, bro. I'm not a dumb person. So you're just like, I'm smarter than you. I didn't vote. I know all these things. You don't even know what a citizen means. All right, bro. You're the best. Good luck. Someone said Republicans will never save you from Democrats. 1,000%. And people need to figure that out. But I'm like, it's always dumber people than me trying to ankle bite me. It's never smarter people. All the people that I respect that I think are highly intelligent, most of them support me and have shown love. And I'm not gonna say everyone, but it's like, you know, it's always people like with an inflated sense of self-worth that think that they matter way more than they do, that are just massively egotistical, that just want to bite at my ankles for like 20 years. It's like I don't, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter to me, you know? And I understand how things work. And I know that although it's like, you know, speaking of 5-dimensional chess, politics is like a 55 part. I don't know why I chose that number. Whatever, choose any number, but it's like a 200 part, 99 part Rubik's cube. It's like an 18-dimensional Rubik's cube or whatever, or 17 for the cubes. There's a lot of moving pieces. Like a lot of things don't matter and will never change, but some things do. It's like if you locally vote for a Republican and they're going to make sure that the prosecutor, or you vote for a Republican prosecutor, it does matter. Like it actually does matter. There are some far left Democrat prosecutors who have let 15 people out of jail who have then gone and killed other people. It does matter to some extent. So it's like local politics, it's mostly corrupt too, like national politics, but it's egotistical to say that literally nothing matters. It's more intelligent and honest to say 90% of it doesn't matter, 95% of it doesn't matter, 99% of it doesn't matter. But if you're going to act like nothing at all really changes, like it's not the reality of certain situations. And it's like, you know, yes, there's a lot of things that will change for the better. Some things will change for the worse, but I do believe that certain election, like I'm not going to sit and like yell at a Republican for fun. Why do you vote Republican? I get it. You know, you want a Republican congressperson, you want a Republican attorney general most of the time. Okay. You want a Republican president to pick Republican judges. Even the Supreme Court, which is a mess, even the bad ones that Trump picked that are terrible choices, they're still better than the one Joe Biden picked. Ketanji Jackson Brown is going to vote on the opposite side of what I consider constitutional and right in almost every situation. You know, so it's like even though Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh are disappointments, they're better than her. You know, that's factual. You know, and from my vantage point, for my values and my morals and where I think the country should go, even Trump's bad choices there are better than Democrats. That's my opinion. You know. Okay, so someone said liberals will fix America. Definitely not. I mean, not now. Maybe if they wake up in the next 20 years, but I don't see it happening. Am I seeing my YouTube comments? Yeah, I saw that one, but I don't just stare at the screen. I try to like read some and move on. Let me see. I'm just, want me to scroll up? Did someone say? Someone said Republicans are racist. They won't win another election. I mean, no, but also this is my opinion about those words. Racist, sexist, xenophobic, climate denier, anti-Semitic, all those words, they essentially mean I'm better than you, you're a bad person, but I don't have to explain myself. So anybody that is properly using those words won't even use those words. You'll just describe what you mean. Like 99% of the time people say racist, sexist, xenophobic, they're just coping because they can't intelligently explain themselves. So, you know, like anytime I see someone saying they're racist, they're anti-Semitic, I just assume they're lying and they're retarded, you know? Because if it's, let's just say racially, I'm not going to spend 20 minutes on it. I could spend 20 minutes explaining to where it's wrong to do it and then where race is a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, imagine if you just said noticing differences between the races are racist and everything's the same. That's a lie. Japan would be totally different if it was all Indian or all Hispanic or all white. Like cultures matter, races are real, and people have different like histories. But here's the thing. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter at all. It's like, all right, well, tell a white person that they're no different than their black friend and that they could just go in the sun 24/7. It's like, well, no, if your skin's super, super light, you're going to burn. You know what I'm saying? Way different than a black person. That's not racist. That's the race reality. And just like that's race reality, you're a liar if you say there's not other race realities. Like there are race realities. Everybody's human, but also there are differences, right? There's different food, different cultures, different history, different skin color, different pigmentation, and different, certain people excel at certain things and certain people don't. Indians are great at a lot of things and they're doing very well for themselves. I think the nation of India is doing really well, and they're sending their people out to do a lot of great things. But at the Olympics, they don't do very well. I don't know why. They're just not, I don't know. Let me know. Why do you think India does so bad at the Olympics? They got 1 billion people. China does great. America does great. Other countries exceed, like India gets crushed at the Olympics. Is that wrong to point out? There's other great things that they're doing. They definitely have other talents, but clearly winning gold medals is not one of them. Why is that? I don't know. But if you just called everyone racist all the time, no one can figure out anything. And then everybody just stops the discussion. Someone said, Anomaly, please get out of the basement and report in real life, boots on the ground. I could do street reporting, but like there's definitely value to street reporting and doing stuff. And I'm not going to act like it doesn't matter, but perhaps one day I'll do more in-person interviews with politicians and stuff, or build a team that can do that. But different people affect the culture in different ways. This is what I'm doing right now, but I appreciate your suggestion. Someone said differences like 6th and 8th day creations. I'm not sure what you meant by that, but someone said voting in fake elections for 2 planted choices makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't. It's not fun, honestly. And I think a positive for this 4 years is, the question is, when will enough people be able to challenge Trump and the GOP the same way they do the Democrats? That's what matters. So is next election the one where people realize like they need to do their job to their own party as well as the others? I don't know. It's like, whether people vote or don't vote, to me, is not going to solve the issue. The issue is going to be solved when enough people understand that the Democrats are horrible, corrupt, and sold out, but also Trump and 98% of Republicans are. That's it. That's the game. What's going to get people there faster? What's going to wake people up more? I think a lot of people have woken up recently, so there's a lot of positives. But one thing that I will say, and this is why I don't engage in it, I'm very careful with what I say about who, right? I don't like to start drama, and I don't like to argue with people that I think are net positives. And if I have any sort of like valid, opinion about it, I like to be very clear about it. So it's like, there's so many people on our side. They want to fight. They want to argue. They want to call each other names. They want to cry about this and cry about that. To me, it's all ego. It's all ego, and it serves no purpose. So it's like, I pick and choose what I say about who and why. And other people, it's like a libertarian conference. I love libertarians, but you go to a libertarian conference, and I'm not saying they're bad, because they're awesome, but I'm sure I haven't been to one. But it's like, even libertarians will tell you their con is they're so individualistic. All they do is argue all the time. So it's like, yeah, we're all the same, but we're all different and we all disagree. It's like, where's it going? Where's the Libertarian Party going? It's been 20 years. Libertarianism makes more sense than the Republican Party, yet they have no stake in this country. Part of it is money, but part of it is also like poor leadership. And 95% of libertarians, they just like to argue and nitpick. And it's like, well, I'm an anarchist. Well, I'm not an anarchist. Okay, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, what can we agree on and what can we do? But some people, they don't want to do anything. They just want to argue all the time. And that's just like, I'm better because I don't vote. All right, bro. We'll talk to you in 20 years. Everything will be the same then. Someone said Trump served an elite Zionist network with a super chat, empowered their networks, advanced their goals, and acted as a controlled figure in a larger power shift. I understand. To be honest, I like people that make points that matter. Like, for example, if you said, I voted for Trump because I wanted the border secured, and that made a lot of sense to me. It's like, okay, if you said to me, I don't vote because both parties are corrupt and I don't want to participate. Okay, that's fair. Makes sense to me. Got that. Even if you said, I voted for Kamala strategically because even though she's terrible, Trump's going to build a Zionist network that's even bigger than Kamala's. And, maybe under Kamala, people will wake up. Obviously, I would never vote for Kamala, but like anything that's logical, that makes sense to you or makes sense to anybody that's honest. It's like, there's a theory for everything and there's game strategy for everything. I would never vote for Kamala, but if you could make a valid, logical point for why you did or why you didn't vote, I'm not hating on people that do overall great work and they're leading things in the right direction. So, there is a point to be made with Trump that he's worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it sucks for people to admit, but it's like, you know, time has shown that yes, he's leaning heavily into that stuff and not leaning heavily into the stuff that people wanted him for. So he's done some good things, but he's done a lot of bad things. That point is to be made. Vlad said, "I've never heard that perspective. Trump getting elected again finally exposed the plan trusters in the Uniparty." Well, that's what I mean, like I said, there's an argument to be made that Trump is so bad and he's building this network and, he's even worse than a Democrat would have been. It doesn't bother me. I mean, who knows? But for me, that's kind of my thought process. And I'm not saying it's 100% certain, but I've always thought that way, where it's like, if he doesn't win, and here's perhaps my difference from some other people, because some people, they're not Christian, they're not conservative, they're more just like, whatever, everything sucks. I respect it. I don't care. But for me, it's like, I do think that more people on the right are more awake than the left. And I do think at this moment in time, like maybe 30 years ago, it would have been different. But at this moment in time, how psychologically manipulated both sides are and the trends of boomers versus the young people, I have no doubt in my mind that if the right party is going to take over America, or if if a better government's going to get in power to some extent, or the people are going to get more out of it, it's going to be through the right. So I'm not one of these people that thinks like, oh, they're both the same. It's like, at least people wise on the ground level, it's going to be the right, in my opinion. I don't see it exactly the same. So with that being said, it's like, I do think if Kamala would have won, I do think no one would have woken up to Trump being a phony. Like, it would have taken 6 more years. I still stand by that. I think it's very logical, and I think it's very likely. So I've talked to people that are just like, I don't care about anything. I don't care who's liberal. I don't care who's Christian. I don't care who's conservative. I don't, they're like, I respect it. I could get along with anybody who's a good person, but like, I'm a Christian. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm a conservative. I'm not going to say I'm whatever the conservatives are doing now, but it's like, I do think that biblically the right is closer than the left is, and the left is like Sodom and Gomorrah, and the right is like Israel. And I don't know, it's like Sodom and Gomorrah or Israel. It's like, what an election. But I do think game theory wise, the truth is going to come through the right. Why is Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene a Republican? Why was Ron Paul a Christian Republican? These are not coincidences. So many libertarians and anarchists love Ron Paul because he's the realest president we've had. So he was a Republican and a Christian. It doesn't mean you have to be, but it's like, respect his decision to run as a Republican. Respect his decision of being a Christian, and then he'll respect your decision. But I can't deal with people who don't respect my decisions, and my thought process, where it's like, it's very valid. And I think, I mean, I don't think the left is going to wake up anytime soon, and I think the right is way closer. And the if you compared the leftist youth versus the right youth, it's nothing's that, like, the leftist youth disagrees with me on like 95% of topics. The younger right wing, like, they agree with me on probably 90% of time. It's like, it's nothing the same. My thoughts on Dearborn. Hold on one second. The app, have you seen the app Ian Carroll's developing to use for research? It was on a show about the Rothschilds. I have not. I didn't know he's developing an app. That's ambitious. And I guess I'll have to see what he comes up with when it's over. So we'll see. What are my thoughts about Dearborn? I do not trust the protests. So I will say this. There's so much I can say about it. I don't want to be too long-winded because I already wanted to leave pretty soon. But I'd say this. I don't trust the protests at all. I don't trust the guy running it. I don't it's a lot of weird activity, and that's all I'll say, because they're throwing out very over litigious lawsuits over this, but I don't trust what I'm seeing on social media, and I don't have to. As an American, I'm allowed to not trust it. With that being said, it's a complex issue because it's like, let me put the right way to say this. If you brought a group of whatever are in Dearborn, I'm sure there's a lot of great people, but if you just drop them off in Japan and let them take over a town or a city, I have no problem with Muslims or Arab people. I'm not a hateful person, but it's like, Japanese people would have the right to be like, this doesn't really, this isn't, This is not Japan. Like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but it's not what I want to do. So that's why it's important to be able to talk about race and culture and not be called a racist, because any other country understands this, but apparently America and Europe just have to flood it. So it's like, I understand why Republicans have an issue with Dearborn. I understand why conservatives are skeptical of it. But also, I do believe that overarching Zionists are trying to use this narrative to kind of like inorganically just sway it away from their leverage and what they're doing and just make people freak out about it. But it's like, yeah, I get why people would be upset, but I don't trust the way it's going down. And my red alarms are going off, and it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of like, weird activity going on. So it's a multi-layered issue where it's like, I don't think Dearborn, Michigan, like, is ideal just based on our country and our culture and them just basically almost creating a foreign nation there. However, I just think the way Republicans and Zionists talk about it is so backwards, and they're just scrambling people's brains and like misleading them on a lot of topics. So how to really like cut through a narrative like that, it would take me a long time because there's so much deception going on both sides. But yeah, I don't trust the protests there at all. With that being said, yeah, it's like it's the same way like the left wing hijacked environmentalism, and they're like, we're the environmentalists. Your cities are disgusting. The water looks like garbage in the ocean. How are you an environmentalist? Because they got brainwashed by the climate change narrative into stop caring about other parts of environmentalism. So it's like the whole anti-Muslim and anti-Arab narrative and is being hijacked by Zionists, and it's just like, I don't trust what I don't think about it and say what they say. So I'm not following them because I don't trust it or believe what they're saying. And it's also like, how did Europe get flooded with migrants? How did America get flooded with migrants? Well, we started a bunch of wars, right? And then the Uniparty, including the neocons, even the Republicans did this. So you think it's only the liberals, but it's not. This is why neocons and Zionists, are highly suspect to a lot of people. They created refugee crises through wars and through regime changes, and then they dumped them all off in America and Europe. So it's like, that's how they got here, and the Republicans that do it will tell you that they're fighting it. It's like, they're not fighting it. They're the ones who did it. And then you talk about H-1B visas because people are noticing that certain ethnicities are scamming the H-1B process, and Trump doesn't want to stop it. So the whole Zionist neocon wing of the Republican Party, in my opinion, is fake opposition, because it's like they're creating a lot of these crises, and then they're creating the opposition to these crises that are completely, in my opinion, like astroturf to some extent. So it's like they're controlling both sides of the narrative, and it's creating chaos in a way that isn't solving any issue, and it's not actually helping the problem, and it's just misdiagnosing it and then misreporting it. And like I said too, I'm not a Muslim, all right? I'm a Christian. But if you look at what Sharia law is, right? I'm just being accurate. They want to ban a lot of things. I understand that Sharia law with women is incompatible with Western civilization. However, Christians used to have different ideas about women and society. I'm not saying they were Muslim and people had to put on a hijab, but it's also Christianity for a woman to be modest. It's also Christianity to outlaw gambling. It's also Christian to, stop theft. Like, if you go to a country like Qatar or Saudi Arabia, in their cities, they're cleaner, safer, and nicer than most American cities because they implement Christian and Muslim rules. There is no such thing as Islamo-Christo or Christo-Islamo, like Judeo. There's no such thing. I'm just saying there is some overlap, the same way there is with Jews and Christians. Everybody wants to talk about that. There's overlap between how Christians used to run their country and how certain Muslim countries are running their country. So I wouldn't want to go or live in Dearborn, to be honest, but everyone that's saying Sharia law, they're not doing Sharia law. But if they did Sharia law, yeah, I get it would look out of place because everything's in Arab, and it looks like it's like going to a neighborhood where everything looks like it's Mexico. It's like, what's that doing in America? But with that being said, it's like, is our problem in America, is the widespread problem in America Sharia law? Muslims outlawing gambling, outlawing pornography, making women be modest, outlawing all the things that Christians don't agree with and used to do like literally 50 years ago? Or is the problem Sodom and Gomorrah in San Francisco, Sodom and Gomorrah in Las Vegas and Los Angeles, and just crime everywhere and filth everywhere? I'm not saying Sharia law belongs in America. I'm just saying Sharia law is not the main problem. The main problem is the neocon, neoliberal gay world order, where they're crushing America, crushing Europe, starting wars, flooding us with migrants, and then controlling the opposition to it to just stir it up and make everybody not be able to think. It's like, I don't, God bless Arabs, but I don't want to live in an Arab country. I want to visit an Arab country that's safe and clean. I want to respect their culture when I'm there, but I don't want to live there. And I wouldn't blame an Arab if they didn't want to live in Europe. If you want to live in Dubai and not in Saudi Arabia and not Germany, okay, that doesn't make you a racist. You're Arab. You want to live around your people, and you only want other people to, keep the demographics low and just travel and enjoy your culture, but not destroy it. Makes sense to me. Anyone can do that. But you understand what I'm saying? It's like America's falling to the neoliberal, neocon gay world order, and then they're complaining about Sharia law that doesn't even exist in America. And if it ever did come its full way into Dearborn, they would outlaw things that Christians used to outlaw, but then just make it more conservative and make women wear stuff that Christians and white people don't want them to wear. I get it. I'm not Arab. I'm not Islamic. And most Islamic countries aren't even enforcing that anymore. They're becoming more liberal. And to be honest, if you want my opinion, this is to the Arab world, not that you have to give a shit what I say, but to the Arab world and the Muslims in Saudi Arabia and Dubai and Qatar and the nice parts of the Middle East that are not completely destroyed. I'm sure there's a lot more that I'm not mentioning. I'm just saying, be careful with the liberalism, right? I'm not Islamic, but you're like, we're letting women do this, we're letting women do that, we're letting people drink, we're letting this, we're letting that. I'm just saying, as a friendly warning from the slippery slope, be very careful, because I respect discipline and I respect conservatism, and even a lot of the Arab countries are becoming more liberal, and maybe they can handle it, and maybe they're doing it in a smart way, and maybe it's better for them, or maybe in 30 years they end up like San Francisco. Who knows? But that's just my opinion as someone from the outside looking in. There's a lot of cultures that I don't live in and that I don't want to live in that I can at least respect from the outside in. And, it's the same with like Israel. It's like, should Israel flood themselves with a bunch of other refugees from all over the world? Probably not. No. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be really dumb. So it's like, that's the reality of it. Yeah. But Christians in America and conservatives in America have been controlled by neocons and Zionists for so long that they don't even realize what's going on. It's like, oh, we're fighting this. Meanwhile, they're doing the wars. The people in America, they're funding it. They're creating the refugee crisis. They're flooding America with refugees. They're bringing people over on H-1B visas. They're shifting the demographics. They're cashing out on it. And then they're going to lose the election to Democrats, and they don't care. They're part of the equation. They're just the fake opposition. So, yeah. Also, listen, I have Muslim friends, I have Arab friends, and I think America at this point, like I've met so many great people from so many places that I respect people. But to be honest, it's like Texas. Like when I go to Texas, I don't care if I see people from all over, but I think the massive majority should be like Texans. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to go to Texas and feel like you're visiting Texas and not like Dubai. So that's no disrespect to individuals or families that came to America just like mine. It's just like the reality of the situation. I don't want to go to Japan and feel like I'm in New York City. I don't want to go to Japan and feel like I'm in Mexico or Africa or Europe. Like, I want to go to Japan, and I think Japanese people should keep their majority demographic and work really hard to make sure it stays above like 90%, or else Japan is going to change and it probably won't be for the better. I like my people per se, but it's like Japanese people are awesome too. They very clean, cleaner than Europeans in some cases. Like, it's cool. I'm not mad at it. It's super dope. And I would love to go there and respect their culture. So I think any honest person in America needs to understand both sides of that, where it's like, God bless you. We appreciate you. If you're a great American, we all love you, but you have to understand why people feel this way. And it's like, Texas has a Republican Zionist governor, and what's he doing? There's like hundreds of mosques popping up all over the place. He's not doing anything because he can't do anything. But also it's just like, it's like too late. It's too late to like it's too late to go back in time and switch the immigration. And they're not only are they like, obviously they can't go back in time. And I'm not saying they should necessarily, but they're not only not doing that, they're not even doing basic stuff to like improve America now. H-1B visas are absolutely a scam. It's not just people. Like they could probably let in 1% and be totally fine for necessary jobs. Like if you're bringing in people to do chips from Taiwan, if you look at the H-1B visas, 80% of them aren't coming from Taiwan or, Hong Kong to do chips for us. They're coming from a different country, and that they're not working these high-level jobs that American can't work. They're taking jobs from Americans and they're rigging the system. Everybody seems to know that except for Donald Trump, but he doesn't care. He works for the corporations. He works for the donors. He works for the bankers. And they not only don't care because they want to make money, but it's even deeper than that. Some people think, oh, they just want to make money. They also hate us. Not all of them, but some of the people who run these corporations and some of the people who donate to Trump. I'm not going to say all of them, but some of them hate us. They hate us ethnically and they hate us religiously. So they're trying to kill two birds with one stone. Cheap labor while destroying this country. Because if in some cases, if they can destroy this country, they're doing something that they consider like an ancient battle that they've been battling for thousands of years that nobody else knows that they're doing it. Even though they say it all the time, people just don't pay attention. So it's like there's a lot of moving parts in this. And it's like, instead of freaking out about Dearborn, why don't you stop H-1B visas, control immigration, and make sure that the entire country doesn't turn into Dearborn? They're not doing that. They're starting more wars to do more. The people that are pretending that they're going to fight it, So it's like, I think you should respect people and be honest. And also, not that some people care, but it's like Dearborn actually voted for Trump, because a lot of Arabs are conservative, more conservative than a lot of Americans. And also, they're pragmatic in some cases. They wanted him to like stop the war, and they thought he was different because they saw what Joe Biden and Kamala were doing in Palestine, and they were disgusted. So they thought maybe Trump could do a peace deal. So they actually voted for Trump. And like I said, some people care about that, some people don't. But it's like, I don't know. My job is not to disrespect people, and my job is not to be rude. My job is to be honest. So that's as honest as I could say. Other people need to. Nobody needs to do anything, but it's like you can be pragmatic and honest about what you want America to be, but also be respectful to individuals and families, And what I see is a lot of evil disrespect with reckless disrespect to inflame both sides, but not actually fix the issue. So why would I do that? That's not what's going. Like it's even with like California, where it's like, I'm not going to say ruined California, but who made sure that Democrats won California elections forever? It was Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan did mass amnesty. It shifted the demographics, and ethnically certain demographics vote Democrat. So California will never be Republican again, probably. Never again. California used to be Republican. Never again. Why? Because of a liberal? No, because of a Republican. And people think Reagan was the best Republican since Trump. They were all phony. And probably the last real one that was even semi-real was Nixon. And I only know that because I listened to his tapes, and he said a lot more than people realize on those tapes. And he did not give a single shit. He said a lot of crazy stuff on there, but at least then he's like a real person and not like a robot. So that's probably why they kicked Nixon out of office. Listen to everything he said on the tapes. So some shit that I do not co-sign, but other things were like, he said, he doesn't even like to shake hands with people in San Francisco because they remind him of the faggy people at Bohemian Grove, which is like hilarious. I mean, it's definitely not the nicest thing you've ever heard, but I just think it's funny that he's like, they disgust me like the people at Bohemian Grove disgust me. I don't know. I want a president that's disgusted by Bohemian Grove, not somebody who goes there and like parties too much and runs a secret society, I'd rather a president, even if it's crude, that doesn't agree with it, So it's, yeah. Someone said Reagan destroyed California and boomers love that retarded Hollywood actor. Dude, that's the issue. It's like, I'm sure Reagan was awesome, right? He was probably even cooler than Trump. But people live in this like fake world where it sucks because I don't want to ruin anybody's reality, but it's like, they think we fought all these wars and beat up the bad guys, and Winston Churchill was a hero and Ronald Reagan was a hero. Ronald Reagan did mass amnesty and he passed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act after he got shot, by the way, which is crazy that he got shot and lived. But anyway, it's like, yeah, those are two of the most harmful bills. Like if I could, I'm not going to say there's other ones too, but like the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act is one of the most evil bills in modern history, and Reagan signed it. Like that's what Republicans do. They do just enough to make people like them while they work for the other side. You know, this stuff kind of hypes me up because it's like I don't get excited from like, look at the libtards. Yeah, look at the girl who hates herself, who's 21 on a college campus, who is brainwashed. It's like that makes me sad. I mean, obviously, I don't agree with their views, but it's just like that doesn't excite me. It's like, ha ha, I get paid millions of dollars to ha ha. Look at the libtard, ha 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 ha. That's like most Republicans, ha ha ha. But what do these people do that make fun of like 21-year-old chicks on a college campus? What do they do when Trump is spraying perfume with a former wanted al-Qaeda terrorist who was on a wanted poster 6 years ago and was wanted up until last year this time? Oh, now they have no reporting. It's like, what's more low-hanging fruit than some drug addict, blue-haired college girl? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a 35-year-old dude making fun of a 21-year-old drug addict, but you can't call out the president of the United States for taking $500 million from someone who he thinks works for a foreign nation. And after al-Qaeda did 9/11, now 25 years later, and al-Qaeda guys in the White House laughing with Trump, but you have nothing to say about that. Oh, but you have nothing to say about that. But look at you on a college campus talking to a 21-year-old. Fuck you guys. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my language, but it's like you're almost worse to me than them because at least they're like young and retarded. You're a grown man being controlled opposition shill for a president who probably isn't even working for us and a group of neocons who have destroyed our country. And you claim to care so much about jihadism and terrorism, yet a literal person who was affiliated with the group who did 9/11 is the president of Syria because America helped him get there, by the way, by kicking out Bashar al-Assad and doing a regime change. And then they're happy about it because they were probably always working with this guy. He's probably a plant. He's probably a Western plant. Obviously, I can't prove that, but it's like, you know, it's pretty obvious. It's like I've never seen someone so beloved and get like red carpet treatment like that guy. He gets treated better than Zelensky does in America in some cases. And he used to work for al-Qaeda and was wanted as a terrorist last year. But all these freaking retards who work in Republican media can't do the reporting on that. They're like, look at the girl on a college campus that's a drug addict who's a communist. Yeah, her father failed her. Her parents failed her. Men like you failed her. You know what I'm saying? People in her life failed her, sent her off to a college, and now she's a mess by herself. Is that something to like brag about? Like it's sad. It's really sad. And what's also sad is that you're a grown man doing that full time instead of calling out your own party and politicians that are grown adults working for foreign nations and meeting with terrorists. Who the fuck, excuse my language, but who the fuck cares what a Republican who talks about terrorism and jihadism talk about if they don't talk about the wanted al-Qaeda terrorists in the White House? Your opinion is invalid at that point because not every Islamic person is a terrorist, but there are Islamic terrorists and there are people that are actually doing things for, or at least previously for al-Qaeda, and they're the ones getting cheered on by the West. You know what? And I'm not going to say everybody because there's a lot of problems in the Middle East, but a lot of people in the Middle East know this. They know that America and our allies are the ones that are juicing a lot of these terrorist organizations. They know that the West is working with these groups, and they're like, yeah, no, there's terrorism, all right, but you know who's funding it and bankrolling it, and in some cases working alongside them with the same goal? Our leaders are, including the neocons and neoliberals or whatever you want to call them. It's a two-party operation. And Trump now essentially represents that group. Although I will say with Trump, even though he's super corrupt, even though he's a super sellout, I still stand by this based on just like studying things. And I could be wrong, but I'm just going to say it. Even though I despise a lot of things he's doing, I do think he moves the needle a little bit. And it does seem like a lot of these people, if it's not theater, it very well could be, but it does seem like he does want to get the Russia-Ukraine war ended to some extent. And it does seem like Hillary, Mitch McConnell, all these people are like crying about it. So anytime they're crying, I'm usually like, okay, maybe something is happening. But at the same time, Trump is so good with head fakes, it's hard to ever trust him because he's head faked me so many times. It's like I don't believe it. But I also do think, like, I do hope he does wrap that up because people don't need to die anymore. It's 2025. They have drones. We have technology. Like what are they fighting over? It's not going to change. So, that's the thing about Trump is like he sucks, but he sucks slightly less sometimes than other politicians and sometimes more. But I do hope it's real because all the worst people are crying. Mike Pompeo, they're like, oh my gosh, Trump, don't do it. Don't do it. It's like, wait, is he doing something good? It's like my opinions are usually like the opposite of theirs. Not always, but it's like when they're mad, I'm generally like, oh, okay, progress is being made. All right, I actually got to roll. Sorry about that. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Thank you guys for being here. Once again, I'm grateful for you guys. And I want to say two things before I leave real quick. The first one is I found this editing program that saves me a lot of time and doesn't stress me out as much as fully editing all my videos. I'm still fully editing them, but it basically just chops out certain parts and like chops it up and saves me a lot of time. So now that I found that, I'm going to start doing more of my reports because one, I do think they're my best work. I do like an occasional podcast like this long and people seem to like it, but I do like those videos and I think I'm the best at those and not, I think they get more views. And I don't just care about views, but it's like, I get why they get more views. It's shorter. It's easier to digest. It's right to the point. It's showing the facts. It's like a good report versus a podcast. So my bread and butter was always my reports. I stopped doing them for a while because I was hoping to hire an editor this year and work with a team. And whether I do or not, I'm still planning on doing that. But I found a way to do it and make it fun and make it easier. So I'm going to start doing those more. And I think that's my best work. So I hope you guys appreciate that. And it seems like they're doing well. With that being said, I do want to show you guys this too. And maybe I'll do a discount, but to be honest, I probably won't because I'm just going to be real transparent with you guys. When I buy these hats, first of all, let me show them off. They're God is great, God bless. And they're sick hats, but when they do commercials with them, they like put something here to keep them like that so they look good. I don't have like the plastic piece, but they're made in America. We have a white one too. I got these custom made. I'm going to explain to people again just so they know how real I keep it. They had other hats that they said they could kind of pretend like were made in the USA, but they said if they really wanted to like really make it in the USA and all custom materials in the USA, they said they had to custom make it and it would be more expensive than just like pretending like it was kind of made in the USA. So I said, let's do it custom. So I had these hats. I'm just going to tell you how many. I bought 250 of these. I bought 250 of these. And I think I bought 500 white hats. I believe that's the amount, white God bless hats. And I paid for them myself. And I had to pay a premium price because they're made in America. Not only that, I have to say, like, I like different hats for different reasons sometimes. But as far as like how they feel, these ones feel the highest quality. Like they feel the thickest. The other ones, I love all my hats because they were all good. And the other ones were made in the USA too. But when I first tried these ones out and I felt them, I was like, oh, these are the sickest ones I've had. So I don't think I'm going to run a special because my profit margins are already super low because I, paid out of pocket and I paid made in America. So maybe I'll run a discount around Christmas time or something. But if you guys want to support and show love, I appreciate it. Like I said, I could run a discount, but I'm already like not making really sick profits on these because I paid so much for them. But anyway, these are the hats. If you want one for Christmas to support the show and just have it going to something, made in America, dreamrare.com. It's spelled like that. See, now this is why it's good to have a sign. DREAMRARE.com. Check it out. Get yourself a hat. Get somebody in the family. I also have beanies. If anybody likes beanies, I got those. I have t-shirts that are, 1x1 printed. I'm working with one of those like print companies, but they're made in America too and warehouse in America. But if you want to get those shirts as well, you could always pick up a shirt. They're funny. Some of them are cool. But like I would say, if you cared or if it mattered to you, I'd rather you buy the hats because I have those bought in bulk. But I don't care. I mean, obviously, any sort of deal is good. I just like to let you guys know what's going on, especially when I take a lot of time and put in a lot of effort to make something great. I like to let you know what's going on. And I work with my buddy Jared, and he's been warehousing the products. He runs a business where he works with a lot of artists and musicians and people, and he warehouses a bunch of their products. He helps me facilitate these, and he was telling me like, dude, they're custom made. They're not even like sitting around. They got to literally make them because no one else orders stuff in America. So it's a selling point, but it's also true. So dreamrare.com, pick out a white or black one. Appreciate y'all. And someone said, you're getting what you paid for a good product. Yeah, and like I said, my profit margins are like they're not great. Most people try to make like 3-4 times. I think mine are like 2 times, if even that. It might even be lower, but I didn't want to charge like $40 for a hat. That's corny, but I did raise them a little bit. They were $29.99. Now they're $35.99. But appreciate y'all. Dreamrare.com. Thanks for supporting, and I'll be back soon.